Cutting a swathe through the forests of the Ardennes, Spa-Francorchamps provides the spectacular setting for the Belgian Grand Prix. Round 13 of 21 in the 2016 Formula One World Championship, bringing us to the southeast of Belgium, some 20 miles from the town of Liège and only 13 miles to the German border. The current layout was created in the early 1980s and has changed little since then. It remains a magnificent stage on which Grand Prix cars perform at their limit. The average speed of the lap is 146 miles per hour, 235 kilometers an hour, and that's despite speeds as low as 45 miles an hour in the hairpin and the final chicane. Overtaking is aided by DRS between the last two corners and on the Camel Straight, and that could be crucial to Lewis Hamilton as he starts today's race from the back of the grid. Starting up front is his title rival Nico Rosberg and the fans' favourite here in Spa, Max Verstappen, the Dutch driver who was born in Belgium and who has added thousands of people to the spectator areas here today. Well, there's a look down on the grid, a packed grandstand on the outside, and the spectator banking areas are absolutely packed. It took us a lot longer to get into the track here today than it has done in recent years, and there's evidence of it. And just look at the amount of orange in those crowds there, the orange T-shirts, the Red Bull, Max Verstappen caps, they are everywhere. There's a supporter for Lewis Hamilton, a number 44, but most of the support is for number 33, and that is Max Verstappen. Can he deliver a special result again here today? A race winner already, of course, in his first season with the Red Bull team. And we'll see what he can do on this particular track. So it is Nico Rosberg who's on pole position, a hat-trick of poles for him coming into this one. Max Verstappen on that front row, and on the second row we've got Kimi Räikkönen and Sebastian Vettel, the two Ferraris. Fifth on the grid is the other Red Bull, starting on the harder tyre, Daniel Ricciardo, and next to him Sergio Perez. Force India looking strong this weekend. Hulkenberg's next in 7th place, and then the first of the Williams, Valtteri Bottas, celebrating his 27th birthday. Jenson Button is in 9th place on the grid, ahead of the other Williams of Felipe Massa. 11th, Romain Grosjean trying to get in the points for Haas, and Kevin Magnussen enjoying his best grid position of the year. His teammate Jolyon Palmer's next up with Carlos Sainz, only 14th, struggling a bit here, and Pascal Wehrlein a solid 15th for Manor Racing. He's ahead of Felipe Nasr, and then we've got a new man, Esteban Ocon, making his Formula One debut here this weekend, as Esteban Gutierrez has a grid penalty and he's next door. Danny Kvyat starts in 19th position, but then we've got cars starting from the back and the pit lane. In fact, Fernando Alonso starting at the back, but Lewis Hamilton will be starting from the pit lane, and so in fact we gather will Marcus Ericsson. No, we gather Lewis is not starting from the pit lane now, so that's been clarified. He is starting from the back, but it sounds like Marcus Ericsson is going to be starting from the pit lane.
Yeah, I think Ericsson, it's an issue with the cooling system for him, and I think there was the reason for the confusion with Hamilton was the FIA actually put out a release saying he would be starting from the pit lane because he changed an element of the gearbox, so he broke the seal on that. But of course, under normal conditions, you just get a 5-place grid penalty, so that just got added to all the other penalties and means nothing really. So it's a strategic play by Mercedes.
Well, there we are. You can see those Max Verstappen supporters. They are going to get so excited, particularly if Max can break away on the first lap. There's so much to look forward to here in Belgium. The Belgian Grand Prix is soon to get underway. We'll see the formation lap first, and we're just learning what tyres everybody is on, and both Hamilton and Alonso are starting on the medium compound tyre. That's the hardest tyre available here this weekend. So we have a real mix of all the different compounds. Nico Rosberg starts on the soft. Verstappen alongside him starts on the super soft tyre. That's Marcus Ericsson, who will be starting from the pit lane. Then we've got Raikkonen, Vettel, Ricciardo, all starting on the middle tyre, the soft tyre, and then a bunch of cars on the super soft. And as we've now just discovered, there we are, Lewis Hamilton with the white-walled medium tyre, and he's coming off the line very, very gently indeed at this point. Doesn't want to get caught up. I wonder if he'll take a relatively steady start. Doesn't want to get involved in any of the action at the hairpin, that's for sure. Pit stop strategies. We're looking at maybe 2 or 3 stop strategies here, and you've got to get a fair few laps out of these soft tyres to be able to do that. But those strategies are looking at super soft and soft, and we've already seen that Hamilton is going straight out on the medium compound tyres. Let's get some thoughts from Karun Chandhok in the pits. Karun, what do you reckon on the choice of Hamilton and Alonso to start on the mediums?
Yeah, Ben, I was talking to Mark Webber about it before, and I sort of guessed that's what they were trying to do. What their plan is that they're going to try and go long. They want to try and get to sort of the lap 20 mark in the hope that all the cars ahead of them, he's either going to overtake on track or they're going to pit before. He'll have free air, he'll be able to just pick his way through. So by the time he gets to the first stop, he'll be around P10, and then he'll have fresh tyres to attack towards the end of the Grand Prix.
Well, that's to watch out for. We're on board here with Max Verstappen. He'll be starting on the front row of the grid. 1 victory to his credit already. He's had a total of 4 podiums in Formula 1 already this season. 3 of those were in July, and he's not 19 yet. Let's remember, he'll turn 19 at the end of September. Finished in 8th place here last year when he was driving for the Toro Rosso team, and he's been a race winner at Spa in the past in the junior categories. In the Constructors' Championship, we've got quite a close battle going on between Red Bull and Ferrari for 2nd place, Red Bull having moved ahead of Ferrari now, and for 4th between Williams and Force India. And that is a crucial battle to watch out for. Force India ahead of both Williams cars on the grid. Let's see how it works out in terms of scoring points here this afternoon. From the Red Bull point of view, well, they've got Verstappen ahead of both Ferraris, but Ricciardo behind both Raikkonen and Vettel. So that continues to boil away as a slightly separate championship battle. But of course, what everybody wants to know here today is, can Nico Rosberg close that gap up again in terms of the points? And some clever graphics there, just showing Michael Schumacher's race debut in 1991, 25 years ago. And also recording Dan Gurney's victory here in the Eagle. That was a memorable win. American driver in an American Formula 1 car. And sending our best wishes to Dan Gurney. He's suffering some ill health at the moment. So the cars coming up onto the grid then. 1 Mercedes at the front of the grid, and the other one, there it is, right at the back of the grid, alongside his old mate, Fernando Alonso. Both of them world champions, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they go. But just from our commentary box, we're right beside the pole position man, and I can look out and see that Rosberg stopped just slightly to the right of his white box. You can see there left of screen. And Max Verstappen has stopped absolutely on the legal limit. You know, that instinctive racer in him is trying to eke out every last little inch of positioning.
So the 2 Mercedes sandwich the grid here. It's Nico Rosberg on pole position on the left-hand side of the picture as we look at it. And we are getting ready for the start of the Belgian Grand Prix. Lights out, away we go, and it's a good start by Max Verstappen, but it's a better start by Nico Rosberg, and in fact it's a great start by Kimi Raikkonen. Verstappen's coming down the inside, 3 abreast. Vettel gets hit by Raikkonen because Verstappen squeezed down the inside there, and Verstappen and Raikkonen are still side by side.
Front wing's gone on Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and Raikkonen's now under attack from Perez as well as they come through Eau Rouge. The Ferraris make contact. Raikkonen was slow there. He has got trouble. He might have a puncture, I think. He's going very slowly. Verstappen's got going. Perez is through. Ricciardo's through. Yeah,
Max is going to have to come in. His whole front left flap is gone, and you saw over the top of Eau Rouge, he nearly hit the barrier as you've got Daniel Ricciardo there getting amongst it, and then the Haas carrying way too much speed at the top of the hill.
So Nico Rosberg is in front of this bunch, but it is Verstappen who's now leading the rest of them in 2nd place. Hulkenberg's come up to 3rd, in fact. Ricciardo up to 4th. Look at the Haas of Grosjean with the Williams. This has changed everything. This messy start, and he's got in between Massa and Bottas on this opening lap.
Yeah, Max Verstappen having to go defensive in all sorts of trouble.
We've got yellows. Hulkenberg's got a chance here, and he's through, and Verstappen goes wide, and Ricciardo's got past Verstappen as well.
But I have damage.
Damage on Vettel's car, we know about that, but all change going on behind them. So Hülkenberg moving up, Ricciardo as well, and Verstappen with the damage on the front of his car is dropping down the field.
Well, good start for Massa, who just got past Max Verstappen there. Bottas not so good, having lost out in the positioning there on track. So Max will be in, it'll be a nose change, and expect they'll put a set of the medium tyres on, and they'll try and go long, because that isn't going to be a 2-second pit stop. That's going to be, what, another sort of 8 seconds or so, as we've got the Renault going wide as well of Magnussen as they come through the
Sides down the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Can Verstappen get in here? Oh, he nearly got himself boxed out. It's easy to do that on the pit entry, but he's found a way of getting in. There was damage on one of the Saubers there, I think, and maybe a puncture on Nasser's car by the look of it. But across the line, Rosberg leads by 4.1 seconds with everything having gone off behind him. Hülkenberg is in second place, Ricciardo's in third, Massa in fourth. In comes Max Verstappen. It's all gone a bit wrong for him on the opening lap of the Belgian Grand Prix. A new front nose section, new front wing goes on, change of tyres onto the medium compound tyre, and he's on his way once again. Perez comes through the shot. He's down in 8th place with Palmer and Magnussen chasing after him in the row. Oh, and there's been an instant, a tyre's gone. I don't know whether there was contact, but Sainz's tyre has blown, and there might have been a touch with another car.
I expect virtual safety car if there's debris on the track. That will help, well, no, actually neutralise the race, and he spins around. Well, if he ends up in a difficult position, they'll have to do a full, or is he going to get the car going again? He is indeed. There's Raikkonen had that damage. Look, his plank on fire. I've never seen that before. The car with the puncture has been running so hot against the ground. The friction has set the plank on fire.
Smoke pouring out. They've got fire extinguishers in there as well. And Ferrari's race has gone horribly wrong.
It's literally gone up in smoke.
It has gone up in smoke. But Vettel effectively out of the running. He is still running. He is back out on track. Oh my goodness, and Sainz still trying to get back.
Yeah, that rear wing has been taken off with the tyre flapping around, and yeah, is he going to be...
Factor.
Yeah, well, that was earlier on when he was suffering the incident itself, the puncture. Whether there had been a bit of front wing to tyre contact, it's often the way, but that we only just sort of picked up. There was suddenly debris flying in the air, and the tyre let go. Whether in the early lap stage, it's often easy for a bit of front end wing plate contact, but it might have happened anywhere on the opening lap.
Yeah, when you see the car there going through of Ocon, going through the debris that was thrown off as that tyre disintegrated.
So he has got the car out of the way. By the way, the cars that started at the back, let's keep a check on where they are. Alonso and Hamilton. Well, Alonso is unbelievably up to 12th place now.
Virtual safety car.
And Hamilton is up to 15th position. So they now all have to stick to a set pace, effectively. They cannot overtake under virtual safety car conditions. Raikkonen has been retired, according to our screens here. I don't think we're going to see him back out. Vettel is on track, as we're seeing Rosberg lead the field around under virtual safety car. And Hülkenberg there in second place. Cannot close the gap. He can only go at the predetermined speed. There's Ricciardo in third. Now Raikkonen is still out on track, actually. It showed retired a moment ago on my screen, but he did just come out. So he is, they're trying again with Raikkonen, but he's a lap down already behind these the other group. So Bottas is currently in fourth. Now there's Hamilton, and he's in 13th place already. Here we go.
Well, it was a fairly straightforward start. You see the Ferrari, though, making the move, and then Max fairly down the inside, but then it was actually Vettel who turned in and caught Raikkonen rather than Raikkonen being pushed into Vettel. So when he watches that replay, he'll have to take the responsibility for that one. So Max not so good off the line. The Ferrari is making their customary good start. Max instinctively goes down the inside. It's Raikkonen gives him space, but then Vettel, obviously unaware that Max was on the inside, tried to close Raikkonen down, and he's taken the damage. So we'll see from his point of view. He'll go to the left. So he knows he's got his teammate on the inside. He now turns in, and he's about to turn in, and there you go. That's the point at which he hits his teammate.
Lucky he didn't get more hits, isn't it? This was Raikkonen.
Yeah, this will be a better angle. So Raikkonen's going to give space to Max once he's dived down the inside. So Verstappen will appear. He's given space, and look at that. Vettel just comes across the front of Raikkonen.
And there was the slight contact on the front wing with Verstappen there at the same time. And then the debris
came off and hit the front of Raikkonen's car.
Oh, right.
He gets too much wheel spin here. So initially it bogged down, panics, gives it more throttle, gets the wheel spin. Fair down the inside, goes on the curb.
just turned into me.
Well, they had to turn in at some point, but yeah, interesting one. Do you think Max was being too optimistic, or was that a fair dive?
Oh, he's definitely been optimistic because he's beyond the white line. But I think Raikkonen was aware he was there. So if you're aware a car's there, then you can't turn in and expect it to disappear. Well, we'll debate that one, I'm sure, at length after the race.
We're back to racing. The virtual safety car has been withdrawn, but we've lost sight. We've lost Button as well, and Wehrlein. Now, Button got involved. We didn't really see what happened to Button and Wehrlein. We'll have to try and discover that as we go through this race. Now, there's Gene Haas, the boss of the Haas F1 team, and we're looking at him because Romain Grosjean is in a solid 5th place at the moment, which would match their best result of the season if he could stay in there. But, of course, all of this is helping Hamilton because we've lost a number of competitive cars from this. We've got one Ferrari still running. In fact, both Ferraris still running, but down at the back, well behind Hamilton. We've got Verstappen now battling to try and work his way up the order. So this is really helping Lewis Hamilton, who is currently in 12th.
Interestingly, through that round of virtual safety car, Hülkenberg managed to get the gap down from just over 4 seconds to 2.8 seconds as he went across the line. So they're all meant to drive to a predetermined pace. But as we know from Monaco, when Hamilton came in slower than what should have been the case, and he lost out in that round. So it looks like Rosberg, if we assume that Hülkenberg hasn't gone faster, has lost time.
Okay, Kimmy, so we are going to get blues for these guys behind unless we can pull away from them. There'll be obviously some guys we can't pull away from, so we will get some blues, but we're just going to have to do the best job we can.
Yeah, well, he is a lap down, so he's going to have to go as quickly as possible to try to avoid the fact that he then has to slow down to let these guys through. Ricciardo's in 3rd, the Williams of Bottas ahead of the Force India of Perez, and then Grosjean now in 6th place. So Grosjean down to 6th, Palmer ahead of Magnussen in the 2 Renaults that are a little further behind. There you just see the 2 bright yellow cars. So it's Jolyon Palmer ahead of teammate Kevin Magnussen as they come through Eau Rouge, heavy with fuel now and really setting up the sparks through that section. Behind the 2 Renaults and staying with them is Esteban Gutierrez in a pretty solid position, and he's closing up as they head down the straight. The DRS is enabled now, so that will promote some overtaking. Marcus Ericsson, who started from the pit lane, but he is out as well. Now we know that Jenson Button, after a great qualifying performance, is already out of this race. He's talking to Lee.
Oh, Jensen, so much going on at the start there. Why are you standing here? Why aren't you out continuing?
Someone hit me at the back at turn 5, launched the rear of the car in the air, and it's broken something at the back. So, to be fair, it's better that than just a bit of damage.
So you're looking at some of the replays there. What did you make of the start?
I got a good start. I got past Bottas. I was alongside Hülkenberg, actually, who started 5th, I think, 6th. I got past the Red Bull as well, and then all hell broke loose at turn 1. Went off the circuit, went wide, following Hülkenberg, and then it turned 5 and 6, and when it punted me up the back, I don't know what damage it's done, but there's a lot of damage, so game over.
Well, we've just seen the replay, David. What did you reckon on that?
Well, Pascal obviously saw that Jensen and whoever that other car was were getting a bit racy as they went into the turn at 5, and saw an opportunity to look like he was going to try and position his car to go around the outside in 6, and he's just misjudged the rate of deceleration from Jensen, who's got that car on the inside, and that's where the rear end damage was given, and that's presumably why Wehrlein's out of the Grand Prix. He must have some suspension damage.
Yeah, at the moment just struggling with the front. It's not helping rear on exits, but front's really weak.
Okay, Daniel, understood.
So just reporting back on tyre situation there, Daniel Ricciardo. He's currently in 3rd place. He's on the harder compound tyre, or some of them, not the hardest. He's on the soft tyre currently. And we've got a car hugely off at the top of Radion. I haven't seen which car that is yet. Oh, it's one of the Renaults. It's Magnussen. It's Kevin Magnussen who has crashed at the fast, flat-out Eau Rouge Radion section, and the safety car is out on track. He's moving around.
Yeah, that's great to see that he's moving. That is a very direct impact at the top of Eau Rouge. Cars, when they're running heavy with fuel, they're more bottoming through there. It's certainly not a absolute slam dunk that you'll be flat out there in the early phase of the Grand Prix like they will be later in the race.
He was close to his teammate Jolyon Palmer. They were racing hard. He's limping a little bit as he moves away, but yeah, hopefully he's certainly a little bit sore, isn't he? That was a massive impact.
Yeah, well, that is great to see him walking away, if with a limp. That's obviously bad news for him and the Renault team, and well, what bad sometimes can be good for others, and that means with the safety car they'll all bunch up in Hamilton and those mediums will come back into play.
So the huge wreck of the Renault car.
Yeah, it looks to me that they may, depending on that tyre damage.
Safety car for Kevin had a big crash in Eau Rouge. He's fine. P7, safety car.
So that was getting the news to Jolyon Palmer, who is in 7th place.
Yeah, just looking at the damage to the tyre wall, then I wouldn't be surprised if this is quite a long safety car as they try and reposition that.
Well, let's find out what happened.
Okay, let's just listen to this through. Okay, well, he's lost the rear over the top, so he's corrected.
I was saying it's flat out through there, but it's not in the beginning of the race. You saw him lifting. He wasn't quite flat out with a full load of fuel, but my goodness, he went in hard backwards.
Yeah, but thankfully, a spinning car like that, you're already losing energy. He got a little bit of an impact as we have a whole bunch of people heading to the pits, take advantage of the safety car.
So strategy comes in to play here as there's Kimi Räikkönen just coming through. Back out once again. Hülkenberg has come in and gone back out. He was running in 2nd place. Ricciardo has stayed out there, so that means Ricciardo moves up into 2nd. No sign of Nico Rosberg coming in at the moment. He has stayed out on track. Perez comes through. Perez did go into the pit, so did Grosjean. Palmer also came in, and in fact, I think he might just be ahead. Palmer might have come out ahead of Grosjean. Yes, he has there. So that would have been a gain for the Renault team. Once again, the Renault team have done a good job.
So the incident is at the top of Eau Rouge on the right-hand side. Is the driver okay? Yep, so it's Magnussen, driver okay.
Hamilton being relayed the information. That was a while ago, of course, because when they were giving the news, look at the mess of that Renault chassis.
Yeah, they'll not be saving many bits from that. That'll be straight off the back of the truck into a skip.
Karun, always horrible to see an accident like this, and of course, well, give us your thoughts. I mean, you know, you're seeing these images.
Yeah, I am, Ben. I mean, you could see as he came over the crest at the top of the hill, he was obviously on the curb, and as you mentioned, big load of fuel on board. The car snapped out of line just when the rear went over the crest. And look at this. This, for me, hopefully we're going to see the end of this accident. But look at the headrest fly off, David. That, for me, is really scary, because look at that there. It's taken off. I've never seen that. That is, it's got like a cushioning that's meant to protect the driver's head against a side or rearward impact. And I have never seen that fly off a car, so that was a bit scary for me.
Yeah, they're only held in with a couple of effectively like split pins at the front and located with a small insert at the back of the driver's head. So it's a very good point. I've not seen one come off before, but there's not a great deal holding them in place because you need to be able to remove it quickly for a medical, or for the driver getting out in the case of fire, or the medical staff if they need to remove a driver from the car.
This was the following car from Gutierrez's point of view. You see him go off onto the brakes as he goes off. Karun?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really good to see Kevin get out. Carlos Sainz also terribly unhappy, obviously, after his first lap incident. We didn't really see the cause of the puncture, it just seemed to go. It looks like that's what he's telling the marshals. But guys, just looking at the strategy stuff now, this has worked out quite well for the likes of Alonso and Hamilton, because, you know, Hamilton was 21 seconds behind Rosberg in the lead. He's now, with the safety car, only 5 seconds behind. So,
yeah,
you know, all of a sudden he's on arguably the better tyres. On he and Alonso, brand new sets of mediums. So new tyres as opposed to used softs for Rosberg and Ricciardo. So all of a sudden they're coming into play here.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah,
I think Hülkenberg's looking good, having taken the advantage of that safety car to come in and put another set of tyres on. Rosberg, Ricciardo, Alonso, Hamilton not having stopped.
So it is Rosberg leading, Ricciardo second, Hülkenberg third, having stopped, then Bottas, who's just come out. Actually, so Bottas drops back. It means Alonso is now up to 4th, and Hamilton up to 5th place. Then it's Massa in 6th place.
Yeah, I don't have any.
You go.
Listen, I don't have any more delta. It stopped working, so I will follow the cars in front, probably.
Yep, do that. We'll get back to you once we can investigate.
I couldn't quite catch what he was saying there, what he was didn't have any more of.
No, I didn't understand that transmission, but something was not working properly, and I think he was suggesting that he's going to make an adjustment.
Still lots of debris to collect. So it's in that top 10. You've got the likes of Perez, Kvyat, Palmer, who's been into the pits, and then Grosjean. So we've had a real mix-up from the start with the incidents that occurred at the start, and then the puncture for Sainz, and then the dramatic crash of Kevin Magnussen, which is being cleared up from right now. But there's a lot of tyre wall rebuilding to do there. Out of the race, we see a list of drivers: Magnussen, Sainz, Button, Wehrlein, and Marcus Ericsson. And Ericsson is talking to Lee.
Well, Marcus, it's been a frustrating weekend for you, I know, and one that started off with a lot of promise, with so many upgrades to this car, but it just hasn't worked out. What was today's issue?
Yeah, like you say, Friday was really good. We were top 15 in both sessions, so it feels like we're taking a step forward. But then already from FP3, we had issues in FP3, which meant we had not many laps there. And then in quali, we had again issues that made us lose lap time and lose a potential Q2 spot. Before we had it sorted today, but then we had to make some changes that forced us to start from the pit lane. But then we came out and it was looking all right after the first lap, and then I lost 6 gears, so we had to retire. So it's just one of those weekends where it was a lot of promise, but every time it was looking good, something happened.
Well, the good news is that Monza can only be better than Spa, so wish you all the luck.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you.
So we gather from the, just having another listen to the radio message, it was that Alonso was talking about the delta, which is the readout on his screen that tells him if under safety car he's keeping to the allotted times, lap times effectively, and that was causing him a problem. Lapped cars may now overtake, so that will get Raikkonen out of the way of the others.
Nico, just let us know, can you see any blistering on the rear tyres at the moment? Negative.
Short and sweet. Rosberg apparently quite happy with the condition of his rear tyres at this stage. Now, this has changed the way this race is going to run. Kimi Raikkonen has been released, so he is free now to go fast and catch up the back of the queue. It's such a long lap here. He's going to hope that he can get to the back of the queue before the restart, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. There's his wife. They got married just in the summer break leading into this Belgian Grand Prix, but it's not proving to be a great day, I'm afraid, for Ferrari, for either Kimi Raikkonen nor for Sebastian Vettel, who is in 11th place. And there's another man who is out of this race earlier on. He was the one that crashed into the back of Jenson Button, and he's heading over to talk to Lee in just a moment. But Nico Rosberg is the race leader, and instead of having a nice healthy advantage, particularly over his big championship rival Lewis Hamilton, who started at the back, suddenly there's every chance that Hamilton could go for the win here today. And you know, the way things turn around, I mean, Hamilton is on a roll. Don't forget, he's won 6 of the last 7 Grand Prix, and Rosberg must be feeling a little bit anxious.
Yeah, I think the saving grace for Rosberg at this stage is Hamilton was running round behind Alonso before the safety car, so not able to or not willing to make a move on Alonso. So he's still got to get past Alonso. Hülkenberg with a Mercedes engine is also going to be very difficult to pass on track, and we know he's got a fresh set of tyres on, and then Daniel Ricciardo as well. So a podium is possible. I think it's going to still take another act of a miracle for him to be able to get in front of Rosberg, or Rosberg to have a technical issue.
So the top 10: Nico Rosberg, Daniel Ricciardo in 2nd place. Nico Hülkenberg is currently in 3rd.
So on the super soft, we had similar pace to the Red Bull, yeah? Yes, similar pace to the Red Bull, who was on soft.
So that's just Hülkenberg getting a little bit of information. Hülkenberg gone out on a new set of soft tyres. He's 3rd. Behind him we've got Fernando Alonso and then Lewis Hamilton, the 2 guys that started at the back. Now they haven't stopped, of course. They started on the medium compound tyre.
Red flag. That's
session,
obviously to repair the barrier.
Yeah, the race is actually being stopped now. Very unusual here at Spa to see the race actually be stopped. I'm not sure, apart from a race that was kind of annulled completely for accident on the opening lap. I'm not sure we've had a red flag interrupted race here at Spa, but we're seeing all the cars heading into the pits. They will be have been told to do that. They've been given the signal, and all cars in. Red flag, the race is being stopped, and Nico Rosberg leads the queue of cars into the pit lane to await further instructions for this race. Well, certainly unusual, and it is all about the rebuilding of that tyre wall and the barrier itself. It may well be not just the tyre wall, but the Armco barrier behind the tyre wall may well have been damaged, and that will take some time to sort out. And for the equipment to get in there to access that area. Clearly, they've decided they need cars to be brought to a stop in the pit lane. Now, under current rules, which haven't yet changed, they've been talking about changing them, David, but under current rules, under a red flag situation, you are allowed to work on the car. Charlie Whiting, the race director, wants to bring in a rule that says you can't, but I don't think that has actually been changed yet.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. If you remember, Monaco was a couple of years ago with Vettel, and they were able to take advantage of that. So you have to see all the pit crew. This is not obviously part of their normal procedure to have to take all of the trolleys and starters.
We need to repair the barriers. That's why for the crash. Yeah, I thought so.
Carlos Sainz gets the opportunity to run across the track now that the track has been cleared, and giving a little wave to the fans. Karun.
Yeah, Ben, just to clarify, that rule would come in only for 2017. So at the moment, we saw it in Melbourne, remember, earlier this year, where Ferrari lost out. Everyone can change tyres if they want.
Okay, so that again could change strategy. Probably does help Hamilton once again, because he'll basically be has done the first part of the race without a tyre stop, and he's now going to have new tyres put on the car for the second stint. So this is absolutely coming to Lewis Hamilton at the moment. I mean, there's a long way to go in this race once it restarts, but I think he'll be pretty happy with the first part of the race.
Yeah, he absolutely will be. This effectively means it's the equivalent of having qualified fifth. Having taken all of those penalties, he now gets to restart this Grand Prix, reset it, and go. Where was Verstappen? Was in 14th when he came in. Obviously, he'll be disappointed with the way they started. Let's just see if we can over here.
And then Sebastian is trying to go in front, and then he hits his teammate, and then he bounces into me.
Sebastian squeezed on the outside. It wasn't Kimi's fault. Sebastian left no space at all.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, you were clear.
I was not even locking up or going wide. I was just trying to make a corner, and they just.
Is there much damage on the car?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think on the car. I hit him with the wing.
So Raikkonen hits Sebastian, he hits you. So look, Sebastian just
they're showing him the pictures here.
He left no space whatsoever.
I mean, the problem with Sebastian is Wilson was Raikkonen here, yeah? So he was trying to go in front, and then Sebastian just turned in.
Here we go, this is even better. You'll see here.
He's always had the images emailed to his laptop on the pit wall.
Yeah. It's like as if you guys are supposed to get out of the way.
Yeah.
So at least he's feeling justified.
No, it's okay. I don't think there was damage on the car.
And he's reporting not too much damage.
Got how many laps to go? That's all Sebastian that chopped across. Raikkonen was in the middle.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at that, really. Yeah, I think that's kind of all of that stuff.
Well, I hope you could hear that. I know the levels of sound were very low. We wanted to stay quiet while they were talking there, just so if we could try and hear all about that. We're going to take another look at the start here. Now, was he... Yeah.
He was right at the front of the box. If you remember what I said, he positioned the car right at that front of the white box. That yellow line there as a marker. As long as you're within a few inches of the sensor that is in the circuit, then that is what you use for the jump start detection.
We did see a message coming up saying the guardrails needing repair, so that's the reason for this red flag, of course. Nico Rosberg, the race leader before the race was stopped, just making his way back. Hamilton, if they finished as they are now, that's what the points are showing you on the right there, is Hamilton would earn 10, but Rosberg would earn 25, so it would bring them to within 4 points of one another. But we've got a lot more racing to go here, so we shall see what happens. Now, we saw several cars go out on the opening lap of this race. We heard from Jenson Button about an incident that he suffered. The other one involved in that was Pascal Wehrlein, and he's now talking to Lee.
Oh, Pascal, bad luck. There was so much chaos going on at the start in various parts of the grid, and it looked like you got caught up in it as well.
Yeah, really unlucky. Turn 5, the two drivers in front of me, they were fighting, they were braking too late, missing the line, so I tried to overtake them into turn 6 on the outside, but then both came back on the line. So yeah, when I realized that, I wanted to brake, I wanted to go on the inside, but couldn't avoid to crash.
How damaged was the car?
The front is damaged, and you know, the engine switched off, so yeah.
We've seen so many accidents out there today, and a particularly big one there for Kevin Magnussen. What is it? Is it just part of driving at Spa in a Formula One Grand Prix?
It can happen everywhere, but yeah, I mean, this race, many drivers are out already, and you know, I'm really sad also for the team, because it could have been a very good race for us.
Well, that was Pascal Wehrlein. In the meantime, we saw another look at Max Verstappen's incident at the start of the race, up at the hairpin. There's Fernando Alonso. Well, he's got a smile on his face, and so he should. He's fifth after fourth, rather. Sorry, yeah, Hamilton's fifth. After that first run. That's amazing for McLaren Honda to be that far up. Ron Dennis comes over, shakes his hand. You know, a nice job for the first part. Let's see what can happen. Mark Webber's joining us on commentary. Mark, well, there's a lot to talk about. what would you pick out as the kind of priorities to discuss at the moment?
Well, shame, Ben, really. I mean, the contact with the two Ferraris and Max in turn one, I think, took a little bit of the heat out of what we might have saw this afternoon. But also, Max Verstappen come back to the pitch with no front wing. I don't think he's not only quick in qualifying, but to come back with no front wing as quick as he was right on the limit. He certainly did a bit of track limits. There's no question about that. So he kept the throttle in as hard as he could to get back to the pits. And then, yeah, scrappy, really. It wasn't punches with Carlos and debris, and now obviously, you know, the huge crash at the top of Eau Rouge, which there's only one result. You lose the car at the top there, and it's going to be a big impact. So it's really good news. Kevin's out in one piece. Looks like the tyres are back in place there, but obviously the Armco is the question now, and how much force has been damaged behind those. So
yeah, we've just had a signal actually that the restart will be at 2:41. That's only 10 minutes, so the guys have got to get on with it, haven't they?
Okay, so that's a pretty quick turnaround. And when I was down here, and you can see physio starting to run and panic, because a red flag really puts the cat amongst the pigeons for everyone. So as you said, Fernando looks pretty relaxed there. A bit of a regrouping phase. I'll be talking about how they're going to redo this section of the race, and it'll be probably a safety car, one lap, and bang, they'll get straight back into it. So Lewis looking pretty good sitting there. Here's his crash again. Absolutely huge impact, and Karun, a great shout on that headrest, which was very, very dangerous. You want that in place. Here he is plunging down through the bottom, trying to get the DRS as well, so he's trying to be aggressive through here to follow his teammate, and this is not a place you want to drop the rear of the car. Brilliant that he got out unscathed.
Yeah, very scary looking accident.
Very unusual, actually, the way he lost the rear so late. He was over the rise. It's almost like there was a sort of aero separation or a stalling of the car as it changes the pitch and the floor, all very sensitive to the overall load. So I certainly think if the data sensors have done the thing, they're going to see a drop out in rear downforce, because otherwise, you know, it's certainly not spinning up the rear wheels on acceleration at that sort of speed.
Karun, Renault have suffered quite a lot of damaged chassis this year, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, just before I go into that, I've just seen Nico Rosberg sprinting up the pit lane. You know, it's a good thing he's a fit racing driver, because they've obviously given him the call that things are about to go in 10 minutes. Most other drivers, I could see in front of me, putting their helmets on already, some of them in the cars. Rosberg and his physio, maybe a nip back to the garage for something. They've come running past me quite late. The other thing is, Ben, just coming, yes, Renault, they've had a lot of chassis damage this year. They've been really up against it in the carbon shop to get the chassis turned around in time. Monza only a week away, and I'm sure there's plenty of people back at Enstone who are listening to our broadcast of Channel 4 thinking, ooh, it's going to be a long week ahead. Quickly on strategy, I can see a lot of people wheeling out medium sets of tyres. It's quite hard to see because the blankets are still on them, but you can sort of sneak a peek when they're fitting the tyres. Much like in Melbourne, I think we're going to see a few people try the medium tyre on at this point.
Right, thank you. That's interesting to know. We gather Kevin Magnussen is in the medical centre. Injury to his left ankle being assessed at the moment, but we did see him get out of the car. He was limping, but certainly he seemed to be moving. He was fully conscious, so thankfully, once again, the massive safety margins of these Formula One cars protecting the driver after a frightening accident at one of the fastest, most famous corners in Formula One. There's Nico Rosberg then, preparing to jump aboard once more, and he will restart the race as the race leader, and we'll try to monitor which tyres these guys are all going to be using as they go back out. Ricciardo will be second behind him, then Hülkenberg, then Alonso and Hamilton. And seeing a McLaren Honda this far up, of course, Jenson Button was going well in the Austrian Grand Prix a few races ago and ended up with a very good sixth place finish. And this could be another opportunity for McLaren Honda to really get something special. But but they do struggle for straight line speed still with the Honda power unit. It's been upgraded for this weekend, and Alonso's been through a few engines, but let's hope that the one that's in the car will survive and give him a little bit more to play with as he tries to defend that 4th place.
It's great to see all the young kids there having either the first experience of Formula One live, but enjoying getting up on the barrier there at the top of Eau Rouge.
Yeah, fabulous place to watch, of course. There's Kimi Räikkönen, big shake of the head from Kimi. That incident at the first corner really putting a dent in Ferrari's hopes to do anything here today. When they restart, Räikkönen will be 17th, but he will at least be on the lead lap, and Vettel will be 11th. So neither car in a points scoring position at the moment. Karun.
Yeah, just a quick line on Kevin Magnussen. They say he's fully conscious and okay. Obviously, we saw him get out, but he's injured his left ankle, the FIA says. He's at the medical center at the moment for evaluation. You know, it's a bit early and premature, but one thing to keep in mind is that Renault's reserve drivers just started racing for Manor, so I'm not quite sure what they'll do if it comes to that in a week's time. Yeah,
you're referring, of course, to Esteban Ocon, who's in this race in 15th place in the Manor on his debut, and there's Carlos, of course, just talking through what happened. But for David, for Esteban Ocon, we haven't really seen much of him, but for the man making his debut, this is a lot to learn, going through all this.
Yeah, well, it is indeed, but this is where you absolutely trust in the procedures of the team manager, the sporting director, depending who it is, and each individual team will absolutely know the rule book as to what's allowed at the back of their hand. They are allowed to work on the car, they are allowed to make changes. You can see the damage to the underside of that plank when Räikkönen was coming in. They're putting some silver tape there to hold the plank up. So I've never seen that plank on fire before. It's a sort of composite material. We call it the plank as if it's a piece of wood, but it's a bit more sophisticated than that. But I once in Malaysia ended up with not the most pleasant conversation, I guess now I've started, but a blister on my rear because the car was running so low to the ground and the heat was so much through the carbon fibre chassis that it was enough to burn the skin.
Wow.
So that was quite an unpleasant experience, but anyway, there you go. They're able to make other adjustments to the car, put fresh tyres on. So this is a complete sort of reset, because every day in history of the car, even if you've got a perfect balance on Saturday with fuel on board, Sunday may be different.
Can we like take some fuel out now and run optimally, or not allowed?
Not allowed. We're doing fire-ups as much as we can.
No, we're not allowed, but we should be firing up to run some fuel out.
Yeah, so it's all part of the strategy, and good thinking from the driver, Nico Hülkenberg, asking the team the question, you know, how can I gain an advantage here?
Well, weight effect around this racetrack is fairly hefty. 7-kilometre track, you know, well over 0.3 of a second for each 10 kilos of fuel that you have on board. And when you run behind a virtual safety car, then you are in a situation, of course, where you're just not burning as much fuel. So they're now going to be all well safe in terms of the fuel margins that they have for the Grand Prix. Interesting, Hülkenberg sitting there starting this race in 3rd. He's never actually had a podium. This is his 107th Grand Prix, but never managed to get up there and taste the champagne. So this is a great opportunity for him. What could, of course, scupper that is Hamilton will only be a place behind Alonso. Hamilton will definitely be keen. His mindset will be different now. When he started the first part of this Grand Prix, it was be nice to the tyres, let's go the long haul, let's try and see what points we can get. Now he's starting 5th. I expect he'll be a lot more aggressive and a lot more racy to try and get past Alonso, who's just going to be traffic for him now, because in that first phase of the Grand Prix, he was just quite comfortably sitting there with about a second or so gap to Alonso, not really putting any pressure on him.
Well, let's wait to see exactly what happens. The restart's going to take place in just a few minutes now. It's just coming up for 2:39 local time, and the restart at 2:41. So everybody getting prepared.
The other thing, of course, Hamilton, as we mentioned at the top of the show, it's got all brand new tyres.
Yeah.
So there is sometimes an advantage in having a scrub, a heat cycle. We mentioned in the qualifying show, and that can just make the tyre a bit more durable. But a bit cooler today. Track temperature 38, I think well over 40 yesterday, and air temperature 25. Still warm enough for people to top up their summer tan.
That's right. The cars will start behind the safety car when the race gets underway. It'll be a single file restart from behind the safety car, but a lot of enthusiasm and excitement up there on the spectator banks, of course, for their man Max, for many of them, not all, but so many of them are here to support Max Verstappen. He will restart in 14th place, having taken that extra pit stop early on to change the front wing. So he's got some work to do, but let's see whether he can fight his way up through the order. He's behind the likes of Gutierrez and Bottas and Vettel here, who we're watching. He's in 11th, and Grosjean, who's in 10th place. Let's listen to Alonso.
So, Fernando, we think most cars only have a single prime and a backup remaining, so they're going to be on plan A, but we will evaluate during the stint.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on what tyres he's got available. He's got a new set of soft tyres available to him, which you would think is pretty much the ideal to be on.
Yeah, that's exactly. He's got the same advantage as Hamilton, so a real opportunity for McLaren.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity. Can they drag something out? This a historic track for McLaren. The first ever victory for McLaren was taken here, Bruce McLaren, here at Spa in 1968. And so there's a lot of good memories for the team. Can they make this a special one? And, well, he's in 4th place at the moment. I can't see him having the pace to win the race, but is there a chance that they can get their best result on the back with Honda? Let's wait to find out. There's still plenty of opposition around them. Hamilton, of course, in 5th place. Massa will restart in 6th place in the Williams. Perez 7th, Kvyat 8th, then Palmer and Grosjean. The clock ticks around, and we will soon be seeing those cars back out on circuit. There we are, led by the safety car. Nico Rosberg leads the field back out onto the Spa circuit. We've had a period where the drivers had to sit in the pit lane. The red flag came on about 15 minutes ago, and they've done a pretty decent job, I think, to repair the safety barriers in the meantime after the big accident for Kevin Magnussen. He is fundamentally okay, but being checked out for an injury, but he's moving around, and that's great to know. But he has joined the list of retirements in this race, so we won't see Kevin Magnussen, we won't see Marcus Ericsson, Carlos Sainz, Jenson Button or Pascal Wehrlein restart this race, but the rest of them are there. And the race leader's gone on to the medium, a new set of the medium. No, is it a new set? I'm not sure he had a new set of medium tyres. We'll just have a quick look. It looks like it is a new set. Yeah, okay, so he had sufficient new medium. Yeah, in fact, he came with 4 sets to this race, and the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap.
Well, it's slightly lower degradation on that white sidewall medium tyre. It's only about a quarter of a second a lap. The deg on that particular one, that tends to go up across the yellow sidewall by another small margin, and then the super soft. It's not so much the deg when the tyre's running clean, but it's just the overheating that's the problem. So we're not seeing anyone using that super soft tyre in the race now.
Verstappen's gone on to the medium. Karun, what are your thoughts on the kind of tyre choice we're seeing now?
Yeah, Valtteri Bottas had no medium tyres available. Everybody else had at least one. The Force India guys and Rosberg had 2 sets of mediums, as you just mentioned, Ben. So, there's a real mix of strategies here. People, some staying on the soft, but, there's still a long way to go, guys. 34 laps around Spa is a long way to go. Yeah. It's all going to unfold.
Yeah, well, maybe if he can do a decent stint on this set of mediums, maybe Rosberg would then finish the race off. He can almost choose then as to which of the other 2 tyres he can go to if he needs to. So we are getting ready for the restart. On board here with Lewis Hamilton. He's in 5th place. That's Fernando Alonso just ahead of him. Ahead of Alonso is Nico Hülkenberg in the Force India. And then there's only 2 cars ahead of that. And they are, of course, Rosberg and Ricciardo. And behind Hamilton, he's going to have to watch out for the likes of Massa and Perez. But here's the top 2 on board with Ricciardo.
Yeah, Daniel just waiting for Rosberg to see when he bolts. He's bolted before they go through Blanchimont. So Daniel pretty good at reacting to that. He'll be able to close that margin slightly in the braking zone. Look out for the battle behind. Look at Hamilton. It's coming under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Hamilton leaving a bit of a gap, and the Williams almost getting past. That was Massa, but Massa's going to lose out by the looks of things to Perez.
Gave that opportunity to Perez.
Rosberg is the race leader still. Ricciardo Hülkenberg battling with Alonso for 3rd place. Hamilton giving them a bit of space. Massa is still in front of Perez there. And then it's Danny Kvyat. Kvyat having a much better run than normal, as Alonso looking racy as ever, really attacking on this restart. You're on board with him, and this is where you have to be so brave, of course, on the restart, knowing how much grip you've got.
Yeah, that was good use of the fresh tyres for Alonso. He's in the slipstream, but he just doesn't quite have enough straight line speed. On Hülkenberg, you see the power of that Mercedes car, but he's got to try and take advantage of these fresh tyres if he wants to get through. But that's a worrying sign for him, that even in the slipstream he wasn't able to close that gap down a little bit more.
Yeah, the DRS won't be available yet because we've restarted this race. So whether that will help him at all, but it's still going to be tough with the Honda power up against the Mercedes-powered Force India, despite the advantage of new tyres. Rosberg beginning to ease out that advantage again from Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Alonso and Hamilton. And then it's Massa and Kvyat. Palmer still going well inside the points. Max Verstappen just going through the shot then as well. And there's Esteban Ocon, making his debut this weekend, the one remaining Manor F1 car still in this race, and Ocon is in 15th place. I don't think there'll be much chance of them scoring points, but we've seen a lot of cars drop out of this field already. There are 17 cars still running out of the 22 that started, so who knows? Ocon may well still get a chance to get closer to the top 10. There's Fernando Alonso then. Keep an eye on him as he tries to make the most of these tyres, but Hülkenberg now beginning to get away, and it's Hamilton who's beginning to put Alonso under pressure and having a little look at the chicane, but deciding against it.
Yeah, Hamilton was definitely lost out a little bit in the getaway from the safety car, not his normal aggressive racy self. And there, you know, I think maybe in another situation he would have tried to continue the pass on Alonso, but choosing to just hang back and see if he can get the run after Eau Rouge. He'll certainly have a straight line speed advantage.
Good fastest lap from Nico Rosberg, a 1:51.7 under race conditions, and they will put new tyres on, but that is quick because they weren't doing anything like that on the Friday practice. Track temperature is up to 39. Here's an opportunity then for Lewis Hamilton to pass Fernando Alonso to move into 4th position, and he has done it easily before they even get to the braking area for Les Combes. Meanwhile, Danny Kvyat fighting there with Sergio Perez, but Perez has got past him. He's moved up into 7th place. And behind them, keep an eye out for Romain Grosjean behind, well, in fact, in front of Palmer there, yeah. So Romain Grosjean in 9th, Palmer in 10th place. So there's been a swap between those two as well. Rosberg still trying to open this gap up over the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo. Rosberg's never won this Belgian Grand Prix. Ricciardo did 2 years ago when the two Mercedes drivers bumped into each other up at that corner at the top of the hill. So Ricciardo will not be giving up his chase right now of the race leader. As we're looking at the battle for 10th here, Jolyon Palmer currently in 10th. Let's see what happened with Raikkonen a moment ago.
Yeah, this is on Verstappen, slipstream, and he's on the prime, the better braking position into what is quite a long corner. Oh my goodness, I didn't see that had come back, that Verstappen didn't want to give the place up, understandably, so he's come back at him on the brakes. And was there contact again? There was.
Wow.
So Verstappen, well, Raikkonen has, I believe, kept the position.
Do I have to let the Red Bull pass because he's clear? It's just his only interest is pushing me off the circuit completely. If I wouldn't go to straight, he's just hitting me aside.
Well, that's something they're going to have to assess. Normally, if you gain an advantage going through runoff like that, you have to give the place back, but it was very marginal there between the two of them. DRS is enabled now, and they are fighting for position, remember, because Raikkonen got his lap back under the red flag and under the safety car situation, so they are fighting for position down in 14th and 15th places. Rosberg is at the moment lapping quickly, but Hamilton's going fast at this stage as well, as we're back on board with Kimi Raikkonen, and he's going to have another go.
Yeah, you know, DRS as well this time.
So he obviously did give the place back, so now he's going to try and do it again. Oh, it's a late move.
Max, that was a late move. You can't do that. There's a very clear rule that you've got to determine. You know, for the defensive move, you can do it, of course, but it's frowned upon waiting to see where the car goes and then doing it. So Raikkonen, if he was already sounding quite frustrated, I think he might have just upped that ante to anger level.
How many times have we seen these two race against each other? The youngest and the oldest in Formula One fought for the win in Spain, but there have been a number of other occasions when they've gone wheel to wheel. And once again, they're at it. Verstappen versus Raikkonen, a champion of the future, we think, up against an established champion in Kimi Raikkonen, and they've provided some fireworks throughout the year. Karun.
Yeah, one reason.
Hey, come on, this is ridiculous now. He's just fucking turning when I'm going full speed on the right.
And
copy, ridiculous.
Just apologise for any language there. Kimi Raikkonen getting a little bit hot under the collar, Karun.
Yeah, I can understand why, as David mentioned, but I think one of the reasons Max is struggling is that he's still on that huge set of medium tyres he put on at the end of lap 1. Don't know why Red Bull didn't take the opportunity to change under the red flag, so his tyres have done 11 laps on those medium tyres, so a bit of a strange decision from Red Bull.
That's interesting. Thank you, Hamilton. A big lock-up on the right front there as he chases down Hulkenberg. He's trying to get himself into perfect overtaking territory up the next section.
Yeah, that was a long enough lock-up to affect a flat spot, which at this sort of speed, the vibration can get to the point where you can't actually see the track properly.
Well, let's see. I don't think he's going to be close enough. Both are Mercedes-powered cars. He's got a decent run, but he's going to run out of time before they turn into Les Combes to put Hulkenberg under more pressure. Hulkenberg never achieved a podium in Formula One, and he's currently in third place, but he is under attack from multiple race winner Lewis Hamilton.
I didn't see Hamilton with his DRS open. He was within 0.8 when he crossed the start-finish line. So, you know, the 1 second activation, but on that lap there, it just looked like he kept it closed.
Okay, well, that's interesting. This is a replay, once again, of that Raikkonen-Verstappen incident.
So it's normal.
Oh, this was another one.
Yeah, that's where he's gone off at the top of Eau Rouge.
Yeah, trying so hard to keep the momentum through this section over the curbs that he tried a little bit too hard that time, but his experience kind of allowing him to get away with it. And so smooth on the steering when he was running off that he didn't provoke the car into a slide. So Hamilton, there he is, still in fourth place. He's chasing down a chance at a victory here today, but Rosberg is controlling the race for the moment. There's Rosberg. Ricciardo in second place, and there is Hulkenberg and Hamilton. Hamilton's looking for his 50th ever Grand Prix win, becoming only the third driver in history to do that. Can he achieve that coming from the back of the grid? That would be quite something, wouldn't it? But he has rewritten so many records in Formula One over the years, I wouldn't put it past him. Behind him, he's still got Alonso.
Yeah, just say Mercedes, we've got to expect that Rosberg's just controlling the pace, but Ricciardo's only 1 second behind, so he can get DRS. Doesn't look as if Mercedes, you know, following the form in qualifying, are as far ahead as we might have expected on a circuit like this. You know, and for Lewis Hamilton on Hulkenberg, you know, that's really not good news for him to be running in the dirty, and it looks like he's backed off slightly to try and get himself a bit more space.
Yeah, it does a little bit, doesn't it? Because he is a touch slower now.
Okay, Joel, both now your front and rear tires are too hot. Suggest some lift.
What should I do about it?
Lift and coast, lift and coast.
Lift and coast, he's being told. He's got to back off a bit to look after the tyres, Jolyon Palmer. He's in 12th place at the moment on a set of the soft tyres, and he's got to protect them. That's what they're saying to him. But of course, he's in that huge battle for around 10th. By the way, Vettel has moved up at the order a bit now. Vettel's come into 10th position. So he's the one who's been gaining some territory, and you're on board with him now. He's behind Romain Grosjean in 9th and Danny Kvyat in 8th. So this is all pretty close.
Yeah, you can see he was struggling, fighting the wheel as he was going through the hairpin at turn 8. But this should be fairly straightforward for him to get past Grosjean. He's got a speed advantage over him, but Grosjean's going to have the advantage of DRS from Daniel Kvyat just in front of him.
Vettel produced one of his best drives, I would say, here at Spa back in 2012 when he qualified down in 10th place, but through to finish second.
Massive amount of oversteer, really struggling with the rear tyre.
Yeah, it was a race which kind of proved at last that he could overtake. He'd done so much winning from up front in the years before that people wondered whether he could race. But this was one of those performances that proved he could.
Max, how is the balance and front wing update for the next stint?
Yeah, I'm on the steering high speed, but very low grip in the low speed corners.
Still sounding cool, giving good feedback. Max Verstappen, the 18-year-old. It might not have gone according to plan for him so far in this race, but he's keeping cool for the moment. He's still ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. The gap between them, 0.8 of a second. So Danny Kvyat's holding up a whole train of cars here. Let's just remind you, Danny is the Russian driver who was at Red Bull, of course, at the start of this year. Got a great third place in China, ran into the back of Sebastian Vettel in Russia, and the next thing he knew, he was demoted from the Red Bull team and put back at Toro Rosso as Max Verstappen was given the opportunity. Since then, Kvyat's had a very tough time, but he's holding on to any opportunity. Vettel, I think, is going to pass Grosjean here. He had a massively quick run through Eau Rouge, and there you are, the Ferrari moves ahead of the Haas, and that brings him now into 9th place. And I don't think it's going to take him too long to get past the Toro Rosso, which runs last year's Ferrari engine and is really a bit uncompetitive on the long straights here.
Yeah, Daniel has dropped away from the back of Sergio Perez in the Force India. It was 4.2 seconds last time around, so this will give Vettel at least some fresh air to try and save these tyres a bit as he tries to pull the gap back to Perez. Just looking at the times out front, you've got Rosberg 54.1, Ricciardo 54.4, So very much the case, I think, that Rosberg is just managing the pace there, trying to see who's going to blink first when it comes to the next round of pit stops.
Palmer has dropped off the back of this group, and he's going to come under pressure from Verstappen in a moment. Verstappen and Raikkonen are catching Palmer quite quickly because he's been told to back off, and he has done that. He's responded exactly to what the team has said, and it may come back to him, of course, if later in the race he manages to protect these tyres and get a bit further, maybe it'll work out for him. But Vettel is the one here that we're expecting to be able to make a move. Maybe it won't be down in the chicane. He might wait until he's into the next DRS zone, either along the start-finish straight. He is close here. Let's have a little look to see whether he does attack, whether he feels he's close enough. He has a little go, but Kvyat does cover the inside. And we've still got this whole line of cars. At the back of that group at the moment is Gutierrez in the second Haas, then Palmer, and then heading in was Verstappen, interestingly.
Yep, off he went down to the pits. So what's surprising, what Karun was telling us about having restarted in the same tyres, very difficult to understand what would be the reason for that, unless he was basically happy with his balance, with a new set of soft tyres going on.
Yeah, so he'll be quick now on this set of tyres, and we'll see whether that allows him to move up the order. So we'll have another look here and see whether Vettel's going to be able to get past Kvyat, and he moves to the outside. Can he complete the manoeuvre? Let's wait and see. Yes, he's well ahead. Top speed there, much faster. In fact, he's the fastest of anybody at that point in this race at 356 kilometers per hour. Very impressive speed. Joining us from the pit wall right now is team principal for Red Bull. We're just having another look at that fairly straightforward pass there. Christian, what a fascinating race this is turning into. Max just been pitted, put him on a new set of tyres, but I don't think you changed tyres during that red flag period. What was the strategy there?
Correct. I mean, obviously, all the guys are a bit compromised on tyre choice, so where he is in the pack, it made sense to leave him on that set of tyres, and hopefully his race can still come alive a little bit later on, although he is carrying quite a little bit of damage from that first lap incident.
Yeah, what is the damage? I mean, we saw he obviously had to change the nose section, but is there further damage?
Yes, there's a bit of damage to the floor as well, so it's affecting the aero around the front of the car quite badly, but you know, hopefully it'll get better as the car gets lighter and on this different compounded tyres.
And tell us about Daniel Ricciardo. How's the race going from his point of view?
Well, he picked up a bit of damage as well in that first lap's fracas, and that's obviously been sorted out. And obviously he's on a different strategy now to Rosberg, and we'll see how it unfolds. So again, another race all about tyres.
Oh, it looks like we're just about to see Hamilton getting into place on Hülkenberg. But Christian, we heard from Raikkonen, who wasn't very happy with the change of direction on the top straight from Max. Have you any how did you see that?
I thought it was obviously late. It was on the limit, but I thought it was fair.
Well, here we go. Hamilton's overtaking Nico Hülkenberg, and he moves up into third place. He's had a big lock-up. He makes the corner, though, and he does go through. So now he's in a podium position. He's come from the back of the grid to third place. How much further can he go? Can he still chase down the victory here today? What a story that would be if he can do it. We've seen John Watson win a Grand Prix from 22nd on the grid in the past, Long Beach 1983. Can another British driver win from the back here at Spa? It's certainly never been done here at Spa. The furthest back, the 16th on the grid. But that's right front lockup is a little bit of a concern for him, David.
Yeah, there was a lockup at the end of that, and well, he gets the tyre rotating again, so it should be okay.
Nice work, Lewis. Nice work. So we've got Ricciardo.
Yeah, that's next one on the list. Daniel Ricciardo currently in second place, but there's the race leader. It is Nico Rosberg. It could end up being a Mercedes 1-2. You would think that Rosberg will have the advantage, but it all depends on tyre use. Remember, he's on the medium compound tyre at this stage. Lewis Hamilton's on the soft tyre. How many more stops will they have to make to get to the end? They'll still be weighing it all up, and it might be why Rosberg is not kind of disappearing at all from Daniel Ricciardo. Karun.
Yeah, Ben, to answer your question, I think that all these guys are going to try and run to the end with just one more stop. You know, they were pushing close to 20 laps on the soft tyres, so it's high teens on Friday, and you know, a bit more rubber down. We know they can normally do a bit more when it comes to the Grand Prix. So yeah, perhaps all the runners who change will try and run to the end. It's Vettel who is on a youth set of soft tyres, already done 13 laps. He might struggle. Verstappen as well. I think he's going to struggle to get to the end with just one more, but we do know his tyre management ability is fantastic.
Right, so we shall see what happens during the course of this race. We're on board with Kimi.
Yeah, right over the top of the curbs at the top of Eau Rouge, so taking huge risks to try and make sure he's in a position to overtake.
Here he comes then, Kimi Räikkönen on the inside. I think he's going to make the move on Grosjean. Grosjean fends him off, there's a touch. Oh, and they get away with it. Sometimes you can, but that was marginal.
Yeah, Räikkönen just didn't, he had the momentum and the pace, but he just didn't have the confidence in the brakes, and that allowed Grosjean that opportunity to, you know, try and keep that outside line as they went through the top of the hill at turn 5.
We gather, by the way, that a Williams mechanic was slightly injured during the rush, the red flag. He dislocated his knee in the rush when the red flag came out. He is with the medics now, so that news coming from Williams. There was a stretcher in the pit lane, so there were some question marks there. So that's the story. It can be dangerous in that pit lane, obviously, when everything's happening at the same time. And the red flag did cause a massive rush. Now, Kimi Räikkönen in this position, trying to get past Romain Grosjean. So after Verstappen made his pit stop, that cleared him.
Check if I have a puncture again on the left front.
Pressure is good at the minute, Kimi. Pressure is good.
Yeah, that was where the touch was. So he's trying to find out, have I got a punch, have I got a problem? Well, he may still be in position to overtake next time. Another look at it.
So he had the momentum. The Grosjean ahead had DRS as well, but I think he just, having committed to the inside, didn't manage to carry enough on the brakes, and that's allowed Grosjean absolutely fairly to just give him space and then go around. So I don't think he can call foul on that one.
Now this was Bottas on Vettel, or no, sorry, on Kvyat. Yeah, this was a straightforward pass on Danny Kvyat. Vettel's up ahead of them, in fact. So Bottas is now in 9th place. Kvyat drops to 10th position on the Haas pit wall. They're still hopeful of getting some points, but that's not looking quite so promising now, with Grosjean down in 12th and under attack from Kimi Räikkönen. This will be another chance for Räikkönen in the Ferrari. Moves to the inside, he needs to get it. Yeah, he's got it all done this time before they get into the braking area, so it's no problems. And it was just tyre-to-tyre contact, so no evidence of a puncture. He continues on his way. Up ahead of him next will be the other Haas of Gutierrez, and then Kvyat, who's gamely hanging on for the final point at this stage, but we're not even at half distance in this race. It's been a long race, hasn't it, because of the red flag interruption, but it is certainly an eventful race. Rosberg leads, as he has done from the start. He was on pole position. He's chased by Daniel Ricciardo in 2nd, but Lewis Hamilton, who started at the back, incredibly, is in 3rd place, and we're not at halfway. Hülkenberg is still there in 4th, and Fernando Alonso, also who came from the back, is in 5th place. Felipe Massa in the Williams is 6th, Perez is 7th, Vettel currently 8th, and then we've got Bottas and Kvyat rounding out the top 10. A number of cars out of this race, including Magnussen, Ericsson, Sainz, Button and Wehrlein. Those trying to get into the points include the 2 Haas drivers. Down there at Williams, of course, their main target is to beat the Force Indias. Well, at the moment, Force India are kind of winning that battle because Hülkenberg is in 4th place, but we've got a Williams versus a Force India further back. Here's Massa versus Perez. So the experienced Brazilian up against Sergio Perez, the man in much demand amongst the midfield teams at the moment in the driver market, and we're still not quite sure where he's going to be driving in 2017, but always seems to deliver solid performances in the races through Eau Rouge. Is he going to get the run here? Is it going to be enough? It's a slippery car, the Williams, both powered by the Mercedes engine. Doesn't look as though he's quite close enough. Let's just see, though, as he comes up towards Les Combes, there might be a chance, but he sensibly feels he's not got quite the run he needs.
Well, just looking down the running order, you've got Verstappen having made that extra stop, running last, but his times are a match for Rosberg leading this Grand Prix, and he's just getting on to the back of Ocon, and expect him to make short work of him. And it'll be interesting to see if he can make his progress through when the people start doing, you know, he's out of sequence now effectively with his pit stops.
We're starting to slide a lot.
The rear is starting to slide. He's on a soft tyre, so maybe there's going to be a change of tyre soon for Lewis Hamilton if he's beginning to struggle somewhat more. Remember, the teams are at freedom now to talk to the drivers as much as they like about strategy and about tactics, about changing the car at the next pit stop. There's Felipe Massa then, still ahead of Sergio Perez. Karun.
Yeah, just looking at the lap times that Hamilton versus Ricciardo, now that Lewis is cleared away from Hülkenberg, very, very similar pace. You know, the gap hovering around 7.5 to 8 seconds. So perhaps those laps following Hülkenberg, David, do you think he's damaged his tyres, sliding around, losing downforce? And although the tyres are the same age,
he's come in by the looks of it. So reacting to that, I think it's a very good call, Corinne. I think having to get a move on, running in the dirty air, as we know, you just lose downforce. And that stressed the rear, but slow getting away. Rear jack wouldn't disconnect. So I didn't see any of the wheelmen still working. So it looked to me as if the quick release on the rear jack didn't activate. He'll get out in front of this gaggle of cars that are just passing now, or will he? It's a shorter route. Yep, shorter route coming out the pit lane, but they'll have the momentum on them as they run down towards Eau Rouge.
And Raikkonen still trying to get past Gutierrez, it is in this case, the other Haas. So having dispatched Grosjean, how quick they're not, I don't think they're going to be with Hamilton, even though he's just come out of the pits. We'll see. But Raikkonen's certainly got the chance to get past one car here. And this will move him into 10th place now. Kimi Raikkonen into the points in the Ferrari. His teammate, Sebastian Vettel, is currently in 8th position. But Hamilton has now rejoined in, having come out of the pits, in 9th place, just up ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. Slightly slow stop.
So, Nico, we're happy for you to push that tyre. May go plan B.
So, looks at we're going to be making another pit stop, and Rosberg responding to that, putting in some reasonably quick sectors straight away. We are at half distance now, and Hamilton only did 12 laps on that last let of softs, so it's likely he'll have to stop again. But remember, he does have more new tyres than virtually anybody else out there. Now, what are they analysing? This slow stop, presumably.
Yeah, let's just watch the rear jack, man. So the gunmen step away as far as I can see.
Normally he hits a trigger, which kind of releases the car.
That's right.
Yeah, it didn't release. He had to actually physically lower it, didn't he? Or was there something else?
Let's just have another look. Yeah, well, Lewis was ready to go. The light obviously changed, so he's released the clutch, which is why the rear wheels are spinning.
Right. So, yeah, it just went a little bit wrong. Wouldn't have cost him a huge amount of time. 5-second penalty for Nasser for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Now, that would be track limits. Or it might have been a side-by-side action up at Les Combes, a little bit like we saw earlier with Raikkonen, and perhaps Nasser didn't give the place back. I'm only guessing at the moment because we didn't see it. Gutierrez in, Massa has just come in as well, Palmer's in. This group of cars that are all trying to get into the top 10 to try and score points. Remember, Palmer yet to score any points in Formula One. Is there a chance for him? I think it's going to be tough, but there is a bit more opportunity here today than he's had on some occasions. And Rosberg picking that pace up a little bit into the 1 minute 54s last time around, a second faster than Daniel Ricciardo. He's opened the gap to 6.3 seconds over Ricciardo in second position, looking for a nice smooth run here.
Am I in a bad position having to stop so soon? Negative. Some cars are stopping ahead of us now, so let's not worry about it. Let's just get our head down.
Yeah, I think Lewis is still in good shape to hopefully score some good points here. Let's wait and see what happens. Give me right. Ooh, big clip of the curve there from Felipe Massa as he battles away, trying to get past Romain Grosjean. He's actually putting a lap on Romain. No, he's not. He's battling for position. What's happened to Grosjean? He's going quite slowly at this stage, and around the outside comes Max Verstappen, and that gets a cheer from the fans.
Yeah, Grosjean looks like he's really struggling with something. Bit of a wobble, even though he was driving slowly there, but very unusual to see Massa cutting the corner at turn 9.
Yeah.
And that puff of dust there. It was almost as if he was surprised by something that happened in front of him, and it was an avoiding action rather than a genuine line.
I wonder if Grosjean's car suddenly slowed down on the approach to the corner, but whatever. Massa is in 10th place, and Verstappen now in 11th position with these pit stops that have been made. Into the pits has come Hülkenberg, and notably, so have Alonso and Vettel. So they're making pit stops now. Let's see what tyres they go on to. Medium compound on the Force India, medium on the Ferrari, I believe. Hülkenberg, where's Alonso? It's going to be close with Alonso side by side between Hülkenberg and Alonso as they come to the pit exit. They're fighting.
Contacts, no?
I think there might have been a touch. Hülkenberg's just got in front with the Force India, and Alonso must have had a brilliant stop there because it put him right with the Force India as they came out of the pits. and ever able to try and take advantage of that. Now, what can he do up the hill? He's up against the Mercedes power of the Force India, but this is going to be interesting up towards the braking area. Hulkenberg goes to the inside. Alonso forced to go in wide, and for the moment, Hulkenberg has just about held on to the position.
Well, Hulkenberg choosing to weave a bit on the straight to try and break the toe. Alonso had DRS, which would help neutralise some of the offset in speed between the Honda and Mercedes.
Did Alonso hit you?
Yes.
So there was a slight touch. Well, it was very close, but actually well handled by both drivers, I would say. Take a look at it, David.
Well, gets the release. There they go, they're lined up. Look at that, gets nipped tight here. Alonso, well, it's just the front wing, I think they caught it. And, well, great strength from the McLaren front wing. Normally, they're fairly fragile pieces of carbon fibre that are on the top.
Now, they're meant to be in that outer lane, aren't they?
Yeah, you've got to get out into the outer lane, but the pit lane's still part of the racetrack, but the small contact there. So the release, that would be the question, really, whether the team were allowed to release the car or not, but no, they both made it through, didn't they?
Yeah.
Gave us a bit of excitement.
Yeah, it was good fun, wasn't it, seeing them just about make it. It's a fairly narrow pit exit. Perez has just come into the pits as well. Nico Hulkenberg has now dropped down the order, of course. He's in 6th place after that, and that brings Kimi Räikkönen up, although, no, he doesn't. He's just come in the pits as well. Another change of tyres for Kimi Räikkönen. This is actually his 4th pit stop, because remember, he had to have an extra stop at the beginning, and he's got a set of medium tyres now on the car. I believe it's a used set of medium tyres that he's switched onto, and he now makes his way down the pit lane and onto the circuit and comes out just ahead of Gutierrez and Kvyat, who are in there. So Kvyat's in 12th, Gutierrez in 13th, but Kimi Räikkönen, now it is a new set of medium tyres for Kimi Räikkönen. He has come back out in the 11th position. Well, it's all change here, isn't it, with a number of pit stops. But interestingly, of course, Rosberg still leading this race comfortably in front, as Gutierrez now trying to make the move on Danny Kvyat. Oh, Kvyat has to compromise his speed in the first part of the corner. But also Vettel, meanwhile, engaged with Max Verstappen here. And this is for 9th position.
Yeah, it looks like Verstappen struggling with the rear tyres down towards Prix. There'll not be an overtaking opportunity there.
Vettel's been working hard today, try and pick up the places after the crash with Räikkönen and Verstappen at the very first corner, when Vettel didn't realise perhaps that there were 2 cars inside him. He turned in, bounced into Räikkönen, who bounced into Verstappen, and has affected all 3 of their races ever since, of course. Now, we're looking at this a moment ago. Did Vettel get alongside? Oh, it wasn't Vettel. Oh, there was a touch. Who was that with?
Was that a Force India?
Force India, wasn't it? Yeah, so must have been. I was just trying to work out who that was. Perez, I think. Yeah, I think it was Perez.
Yeah, he's going to have to give that position back.
Ricciardo is coming back out on a new set of medium tyres now. So the 2nd place man,
Hamilton, right with him in his sights, though.
So certainly he's able to go to the end, Daniel Ricciardo, on this set of tyres, whereas Hamilton, I don't think, will be able to go to the end. Here we are again with Vettel versus Verstappen, and he's got a great run, and he's going to have him even before they get down to the DRS area, and he will still have the advantage as they go up the hill, although actually no, because I think the detection area is as they head down that hill, so Verstappen might come back at him here.
Yeah, strategically that could work quite well for him.
Yeah, he's going to try and come back, and he's done it. Vettel has to slot back in. That was clever stuff from Verstappen. He let Vettel through at just the right area there, because he knew he could use the DRS up the hill. Intelligent driving from Max Verstappen, knowing the location of that DRS detection point as they come down the hill towards Eau Rouge. And it's kept him in 8th place for the moment. Behind them, you've got Valtteri Bottas hanging on in 10th place. Kimi Räikkönen is in 11th, then Gutierrez, Kvyat, Palmer and Grosjean. And Esteban Ocon on his debut with the Manor team, still running. He's in 16th place. The final runner at the moment is Felipe Nasr in the Sauber. We lost one Sauber early on, of course. Into the pits comes the race leader. He has gone for another pit stop, another change of tyres, back onto a set of mediums, and away goes Nico Rosberg. Now he should be comfortably out in front of Ricciardo and Hamilton, So is this a kind of protective move to get him to the end of the race? Look in the background, you'll see Ricciardo and Hamilton coming through the last corner as Rosberg rejoins the fray, and it's looking good for him at the moment, certainly to take victory, but it could still end up a Mercedes 1-2 and deny him much opportunity to close the points in the championship.
Well, this is down into the chicane. So Vettel on the outside, having got the slipstream down through Blanchimont. Max going a bit deep, so you expect to see Vettel try and do the cutback on the exit.
Then what happened? Oh, that was before, yes, that was before Vettel then got the run, but that was then how Verstappen managed to sort it. There's the detection point. So
yeah,
he had DRS.
Absolutely, had DRS and a slipstream.
And at the moment, that is still the same.
Wow, look at the back of the Red Bull. He was right up his gearbox, and then he'll cut back to get better acceleration. And he'll be thinking, yippee, I've overtaken him.
Yeah.
And then 5 seconds later, he'll be thinking, oh no.
Yeah, they'll realise. And in fact, he has gone past this time. He's got through. Verstappen has passed, been passed by Vettel. He held him off for a while, and he's now got the Williams of Bottas to try and fend off as well. So Verstappen struggling a touch for pace on these soft tyres that he's on. They've done 10 laps in this race. But don't forget, he's got damage on the car. Christian Horner told us about that, and I'm sure it's having quite an influence. Karun, what are your thoughts at this stage of the Grand Prix?
Well, strategically, it's settling down a little bit. I think Hamilton and Verstappen have to pit again. We've seen here, as we get another replay of that move from Vettel, Verstappen just doesn't have the grip. Those tyres have done 10 laps. We heard Christian talking about the damage, and I think that's really affected his performance. So Hamilton, though, 1.6 seconds now behind Ricciardo. He's on the faster tyre, he's on the soft, Ricciardo on the medium. But I think Lewis has to pit again, and so does Verstappen. So really, Ricciardo could let Hamilton pass and then, you know, not fight him too hard now in the hope that he's got tyres to fight later on.
And does that mean you think that Hülkenberg could still be in the race for third with Hamilton in the latter stages?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the moment, Hülkenberg 13 seconds behind Hamilton. Hamilton, though, he's got the hammer down. He's done a 52.3, a personal best lap last time around, 2 seconds faster than Hülkenberg. So I think they're pushing hard. Red Bull are coming out of the pit lane, by the way, guys. I can see. So yeah. Verstappen in the pit. They've got another set of new softs. So a new set of softs. Paul Monahan standing in front of me. You can hear the mechanics working in the background. The red's rising. Good pit stop and a new set of soft tyres. But Paul Monahan taking lots of pictures still to assess the damage at Red Bull.
Yeah, that was a wonderful pit stop. 2.1 seconds. One of the quickest that we've seen, and very rapid indeed. Now, Alonso's got some pressure on him. Remember how Alonso moved up the order, helped a little bit by the red flag and by starting on the medium compound tyre. But now he's got some pressure on him from an old teammate in Felipe Massa, and indeed from Sergio Perez as well in a pretty rapid Force India. So this could be quite exciting.
Yeah, last time around, all three of them did a 1:54.7. So Alonso, we must assume with clear air ahead, is the pace he can do, and the two cars behind are just being held to that. But Massa, interesting that he drops back in that middle sector, which would suggest that McLaren isn't struggling for grip. Maybe just not got the balance that he would like there, and then he closes the gap up again in the first and third sectors.
Well, we've just been looking at the tyres available for Hamilton as he continues to try and hang on to a third place here. He has got a new set of super softs available, so if he can just get a little bit more distance out of the tyres he's on right now, could be a sprint finish from Hamilton on a set of super softs to try and take that third place. That'll be interesting to watch. But right now it's Nico Rosberg who leads this race by quite a comfortable margin now. It's come up to 10 seconds, just over 10 seconds, the lead from Ricciardo. Hamilton's only 1.3 seconds behind Ricciardo, then Hülkenberg lurking in fourth, and then this group of Alonso, Massa and Perez, so they're 5th, 6th and 7th. Vettel in the background, who is closing up on them a little bit as they come through. He's still got a bit of time to make up on them. And this looks like it might be a chance for Perez on this lap, a third of these. Let's see whether he gets a better run this time on Felipe Massa. Looks incredibly even, doesn't it, between Williams and Force India. They are battling for fourth place in the Constructors' Championship. Here's an opportunity for Perez. Again, I'm not sure he's quite there. Well, he's got it definitely a bit closer than he has been. Will he go for the lunge? He moves to the outside. Massa covers the inside. He's going to try and go around the outside. This is brave. This is brave. Can he make it move? Yes, he can. He makes the move past Felipe Massa. Wonderful pass by Sergio Perez. And Massa's dad not so happy.
No, he doesn't agree with you. He thinks that was pushing the limits too much, but yeah, that was brave. Just gets his car far enough alongside as he come out of 5 to then give Massa basically no option but to back out of it.
Briefest touch again on tyres.
Yeah, so Massa at this point realises that game's over, tries to run with it, and then has to drive out over the curb.
That was proper racing, though, and two campaigners who have been in Formula 1 for a few years. One of the most experienced, of course, in Felipe Massa, but wonderful racing and hard, but just fair. And that's what we love to see more of. Hamilton still there behind Ricciardo. In fact, look, he's within DRS range now. The gap, 0.8 of a second.
So, like I say, make his life hard. It'll help us at the end of the race.
Yeah, because it's all about tyre life. And Hamilton, we think, will have to stop again. Ricciardo might be able to go to the end. That's asking quite a lot of the medium tyre.
Yeah, but if the engineer's saying it might help us at the end of the race, it would be unlikely that Hamilton could stop and then make up that 20-odd seconds to get back onto Daniel Ricciardo. So that would suggest to me that Red Bull have to stop again.
Yeah, well, let's wait and see. The medium tyre...
It could be a misleading curveball, of course.
It could, yeah. Could be to confuse not only us, but the opposition. So let's watch and see what happens. But Hamilton been closing. He certainly wasn't there then to get past Ricciardo. Corinne?
Yeah, David, I think what they're trying to say is don't let him pass now so he doesn't get a gap over us. So when he pits, you know what I mean, he's got less of a gap over Ricciardo. So they want to delay. They think he will overtake because he's on the faster tyre, but they want to delay it as much as possible and then give Hamilton less time to attack later on. Of course, by keeping him behind for longer, especially this middle sector of the lap through Pouhon, the fast corner we're seeing here, and the next Fania chicane and stuff, he's going to damage the tyres by staying behind. So I think the plan is to just delay him as much as possible while he runs to the end.
Okay, Daniel. So left rear tyre is a little bit warm. Just watch that left rear tyre.
So there you are. On one hand, he's being told keep the guy behind, and on the other, he's being told your tyre's getting too hot, which effectively means you've got to slow it down a little bit. Jolyon Palmer and Max Verstappen racing here. I mean, Palmer went very wide into the corner there, but Verstappen moving into 13th place as a result of that. Palmer's in 14th, Grosjean is in 15th position outside the points.
Yeah, that message that was played out to Daniel Ricciardo, that's one of the frustrations. There's been a lot of the drivers very vocal about the tyres again, and it's a slightly annoying thing that we have to keep talking about, that Pirelli having been asked to come up with high degradation tyres so there would be pit stops and therefore a bit more action for the television. It does mean that the drivers can't push 100%.
There's been a change further back. Perez has got past Alonso on this last lap, so Perez is now up into 5th place. Fernando Alonso in 6th position. We haven't actually seen where that was. Remember, Perez passed Massa a lap or so ago. Probably was the same area, this part of the track. We might get another chance to see that. But the Force India is going well because we've got Hülkenberg currently in 4th and racing for 3rd, and Perez now into 5th position. So some very useful points on offer for Force India as they try and narrow the gap to Williams. But you're on board here with Sebastian Vettel once again.
Yeah, Vettel has a chance with Massa in front, and then Alonso is only just another second or so up the road. So, you know, he could get himself up as high as 5th place, assuming he could overtake Perez as well, who's the next car up the road.
Yeah, that might be difficult. The Force India has been showing good race pace throughout the weekend. But let's wait and see what happens. Rosberg has completed 30 laps. We're on to lap 31 out of 44 around the magnificent Spa circuit. And what a race of changing fortunes it has been for many. Not so much for Nico Rosberg, though. He has controlled the race from the front. His lead is now 10.4 seconds. And Daniel Ricciardo, who started 5th on the grid. Funnily enough, Daniel Ricciardo started 5th on the grid the last few years here.
Okay, Daniel, doing a very good job, mate. Let's keep it smooth. Doing a very good job. You're on top of tyre temperatures now. Good job.
That's impressive, isn't it? He's still holding Hamilton at bay and looking after his tyres. That's the multitasking of a modern Formula 1 driver. And Ricciardo in 2nd position at the moment. Scored a great 2nd last time out in Germany. Can he do it again? Or who knows what will happen in the closing stages? Hamilton still 3rd. Hülkenberg hanging on in there in 4th position. But Vettel here becoming a threat now to Felipe Massa as the gap narrows to just half a second between them. They flash past through Blanchimont down towards the chicane, and Alonso up ahead of them, still hanging on in there in 6th place in the McLaren. which would be a tremendous result for them if they could keep that place. But same place that Jenson Button finished in Austria. Alonso has actually had one place better finish this year in Monaco, but Monaco, of course, always a bit exceptional in terms of getting slightly odd results. Much harder to do that here at Spa. Down the hill, and Vettel will be closing up on Felipe Massa through this section. He'll be looking for that DRS opportunity up over the rise and on the approach to Les Combes. And this hill, still pretty steep, all the way up to this right-hander. The camera flattens it, but it is pretty steep. He's not there, though, is he? He's not quite close enough. And in the background, you can see that Kimi Räikkönen is getting a little closer to Bottas. He's currently in 10th position.
Okay, Lewis, it won't be long now. Our pit window is nearly clear. Still Hulkenberg just hovering on the edge.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Hulkenberg. Can they clear Nico Hulkenberg? That's the battle for third place between Hamilton and Hulkenberg.
Yeah, he references the pit window. Hulkenberg's 17.6 seconds last time around in front of Hamilton. If they can get that gap out to about 20 seconds or so, then it would give him the chance to get in, get back out. Even if he did drop behind Hulkenberg, in fresher tyres, he'll be able to attack.
Yeah, it is looking good for Hamilton to get that third place here today. I'm not sure that Hulkenberg's going to be able to fend him off, because he's going to try and go to the end of the race on his medium compound tyre. So even if Hamilton makes a stop and comes out behind him, I think it's going to be difficult for Hulkenberg to defend his position. Looks like he might miss out on a podium yet again, but that's the way it seems to go. And in comes Lewis Hamilton. So this will be his final stop. 11 laps to go. And look at all these new tyres that he's got available that nobody else has, courtesy of his qualifying yesterday. And it has helped him today, there's no doubt.
Interesting, he's gone with the medium. The car's pretty light on fuel now. Hulkenberg will just be going around the hairpin there. So Hamilton will be a second or so behind when he gets back up to speed.
Yeah, so he comes out in front of the other Force India of Sergio Perez. So he's sandwiched between the two Force Indias. And this is going to be very interesting to see whether Force India can defend from him at all. You would think it's going to be very tough with the Mercedes on the harder tyre. Haven't gone for the super soft, which is a tyre they struggled with this weekend. This is an opportunity now, though, as we see here comes Sebastian Vettel on Felipe Massa. Moves to the outside. It's all done and dusted before they get to the turning point, but he overshoots the corner. Oh, there's a chance for Massa to come back at him here. Vettel being quite aggressive in squeezing him. Ultimately gives him just enough space. Another mistake from Vettel. He's just not looking 100% here today.
No, with the slipstream and the DRS open, he'll arrive there about 20 kilometers an hour faster. So just misjudges on the brakes. But I have to say, very fair with Massa. When he rejoined, he could have just sort of looked left and turned right. And Massa, again, would have had no choice but to back out.
I'm not sure if that's the right idea. No, we think it is. It's a good tyre. It's looking good.
Hamilton questioning the choice of the medium compound tyre. And, of course, the team have been assessing not only their own performance on that tyre, but other drivers. And as the temperatures change, as we've still got a pretty high track temperature, they obviously feel it is the one to be on. Karun.
Yeah, just to note that medium tyre, although the graphics for people at home might say it's a used tyre, it's only actually done one lap. So I think David mentioned before, sometimes in practice they go out, do one lap to put a heat cycle and just cure the tyre for a bit more durability. So that is, for all practical purposes, a new tyre.
Another look at the moment there for Vettel. A reaction inside the Ferrari garage.
Passion runs high. Interesting, the previous shot that we got was Vettel. You see the lock up there, but this is where I think he was quite fair. He gave space. So he went to open the wheel and he went, okay, that Williams is enough alongside me that I'll just turn the steering a bit more. So a bit of racing respect there. Hamilton now in the slipstream and Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg will weave a little bit, but in the end,
Hamilton gets past the Force India, and that brings him back into third place. So fighting his way from the back of the field, and despite making extra pit stop, he has now moved up. And here comes Vettel now, trying again to get past Massa. Again, he gets past. This time he gets the braking right. Last time he did have a car in front of him and might have affected the amount of downforce he had on the front wing just as he went into that corner, and it might have denied him the opportunity. So he'll be going after Alonso now for 6th position as Kimi Räikkönen closes up behind Valtteri Bottas. The Williams finding themselves under a lot of threat from the Ferraris right now. and important for Williams to try and get as many points as possible, because Force India are going to close up a little bit more in the Constructors' Championship. If things remain as they are right now, Force India will have a chance to further narrow that 15-point gap in the Constructors' Championship, and that's going to be a lot of pressure on Williams as we go through the remaining part of the season. So we'll keep an eye now on Lewis Hamilton in third place, and how quickly he starts to close on Daniel Ricciardo. That's going to be the next thing to watch. Can he get close enough in the remaining part of this lap to actually move up into second place? That might be asking too much, but he might as well go for it, and he's got a good set of tyres to do it. Vettel getting a little closer now to the back of Fernando Alonso, and Alonso doing his utmost. He'll be tough to pass, but remember that Honda engine is definitely lacking horsepower. And Rob Smedley there at Williams, well, you can see the writing on the wall a little bit with Raikkonen tucked in behind Bottas. And the discussion's continuing, but Raikkonen is the one now, I think, to keep an eye on at the back of this group.
Yeah, Raikkonen just quietly getting himself into position. And yeah, for Williams, the fact that they've got both Force Indias running in front of them, that is clearly not good news in their constructors' battle.
Quick note about Esteban Ocon making his debut here today. He's been running around in front of Felipe Nasr in the Sauber for lap after lap, doing a solid job so far, by the way. It hasn't allowed him to get close. Here comes Vettel. Vettel on Alonso. He'll go to the outside, but he'll be well in front, I believe, before they turn into Lecombe. And there's no way that Alonso could battle him on the brakes, which is a shame that he didn't have a bit more to play with. But nonetheless, there's still a chance for Alonso to score points here today. He might end up dropping to 10th place, but then there is big gap after 10th place at the moment, down to Gutierrez in 11th, which is where he's fairly accustomed to finishing this year. Just outside the points always seems to be the way for Esteban Gutierrez. Verstappen is currently in 12th place, by the way. Kvyat is 13th. Romain Grosjean still running in 14th, and Jolyon Palmer's just been back into the pits for another set of tyres. This was the move from Vettel on Alonso.
Yeah, got the car in the right position over the hill. Alonso shows his intentions to defend to the inside very early, and Vettel just uses the overspeed round the outside, having learned from locking up in the previous one, keeps it nice and tidy on the brakes into 5.
Rosberg continues to lead the Belgian Grand Prix. His lead is now 11.9 seconds. Hamilton is in third place, another 18 seconds behind. Then Hulkenberg is fourth. Perez currently in 5th place. Alonso is in... No, Vettel is in 6th place. Alonso is in 7th. Then Massa 8th, Bottas 9th, and Kimi Raikkonen in 10th. So here come this little group. So can Raikkonen now find his way past the 2 Williams ahead of him, running in tandem. Massa ahead of Bottas. And we've seen the performance from Vettel, but Raikkonen's on medium tyres that have done some 11 laps. They're only a couple of laps younger than the same type of tyre on the Williams, so he doesn't have a huge tyre advantage. Engine-wise, there's not too much difference now, David, really, between Mercedes horsepower and Ferrari horsepower.
Doesn't appear to be, and there's a number of engineers have moved between the teams. Mercedes clearly were the target team for the likes of Ferrari to try and get some of their engine technical staff over, and Renault have likewise. I don't believe Honda have gone down that route of trying to take technical staff from other engine manufacturers. They very much have ploughing their own furrow and believe that their way will eventually win through.
We shall see. There's a massive revamp on the Honda engine for next year, from what we gather. Let's see whether it comes to fruition. Verstappen just passed Gutierrez there, and he's taken that 11th place for the moment. But we'll see if he can get any further, Verstappen, because he should... Yeah, he's got a chance, but there's quite a big gap now to Kimi Raikkonen in that next group. So that's the question, really, how fast Verstappen can close on that next group that are still just in the points. Karun.
Yeah, just a line on Sebastian Vettel. He's back up to 6th place. I mean, don't forget, he was dead last after that. He's now up to 6th place. He's catching Perez at a second a lap over the last couple of laps, and Hulkenberg. Only now 7 seconds to Perez, 7 laps to go. So it could be tight come the end of the Grand Prix.
All right, thank you. Yeah, well, another one to watch. But up front, no problems at all so far for Nico Rosberg. And it's been an eventful race. He found everybody closing back up on him on the virtual safety car and red flag. If it finishes as it is now, though, he won't have narrowed the gap as much as he would have liked, but he will have brought it down a bit. It will be a 9-point gap instead of a 19-point gap. So, healthy reduction in the difference between himself and Lewis Hamilton going into the next race at Monza. Ricciardo would hold on to third, and Vettel would move back into fourth ahead of teammate Raikkonen. At the moment, Raikkonen ahead of his teammate in the points, but it looks as though that's going to swap back around. But let's not forget that Raikkonen's got the chance to gain a few places here, and we're right on board with him as we speak, because he's tucked in behind both Williams. It's very little to choose between them, though, in straight line speed up there towards Les Combes, and it's going to be tough, I think.
Yeah, Alonso, you can see that gap is a sort of a yo-yoing up and down between the back of Alonso and Massa. Bottas in a tighter line there, Massa favouring a slightly wider line to then take a later apex. It's one of those corners where you can play around a little bit with the position of the car.
No worries on fuel consumption, of course, today because of the pause that we had earlier.
That's right, yeah, well, unlike an aircraft where you can dump fuel when you're flying around the sky, once you put it in, you need to pump it out at the end of the Grand Prix, so they all are obliged to give a fuel sample to the FIA to show that the fingerprint of the fuel being used is as has been approved. They'll have no issues getting plenty of fuel out today.
Yeah, although we are, of course, doing the full distance. They didn't actually lose any laps off the race distance, despite having the red flag. But we did have that virtual safety car period as well that went on for a little while. So, and the safety car itself. So that will have certainly helped their fuel consumption in this race. Just Capito, the man who's joining McLaren. An interesting appointment there, David. He's a key player in motorsport. I mean, he's been the boss of VW Motorsport, looked after all their rallying success in recent years.
Yeah, he's got motorsport in his blood. And interesting how you pronounce his name. I'm going to assume, Ben, that you've done your research, because I always thought it was Capito, but then I'm not known for my pronunciation. How did you
well, we can get suggestions on that from everybody, but we'll sort out.
I thought you had an inside track already.
Yeah. So, but he is a key player, and of course how he fits in with kind of Eric Boulier and the others. Well, that's going to be very interesting to see how that settles down.
Well, he's made an impression with the team. Apparently, his first day going around the garage, as you say, he's not officially with the team, but when he went round, he shook everyone's hands, asked their name, introduced himself. So, very personable.
Yeah, and just gathering information really this weekend, but he is due to start his official position in a few days' time. Now, let's just see what's going on here in the battle for 7th, as Alonso still in front of the two Williams. That's, you'd have thought by now the Williams would have found a way past him, but as ever, he's a tough nut to crack, isn't he?
Well, he is. He can handle that pressure, and this is that would be a big result for McLaren, and much-needed points if they could get that 7th.
Yeah, it would be a major boost to them. And on this lap, if anything, Massa's just dropped away a touch, keeping his teammate behind and Raikkonen there.
Well, every time in that middle sector, the Williams is dropping back, so they've got the speed in the first and last sector, but the McLaren chassis is obviously working well in that middle sector, and Alonso's able to just maintain and grow the gap actually each lap in that section.
There's Nico Hulkenberg in 4th position, so it doesn't look as though he's going to be able to take a podium, but this would still be his best result of the season if he can hang on in there for the moment. Best finish so far this year was a 6th place finish, and funnily enough, Spa is where he's also had a 4th place in the past. Look at the points and how they would change. If Force India stay where they are now, Force India would indeed move ahead by 1 point over Williams.
Well, speaking with Bob Family, that's very much their goal at the beginning of the year, to finish 4th in the Constructors. They don't believe that the resources they have will ever give them the opportunity to be in front of a Mercedes, a Red Bull, a Ferrari. Although Red Bull is a privateer team, it operates like a works team in terms of their revenues and ability to put men on the ground.
Yeah, Corinne, it's quite key race this for those two teams.
Yeah, really important, and therefore I'm sure that battle of Vettel versus Perez is something for them to keep an eye on. That's sort of leveled off now. Perez has responded to the challenge. One thing that would be a worry for Williams, their fastest laps in this race in the low 54s. Force India, both cars in the mid 53s. So once again, Force India is showing more pace than Williams in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's a good point. And as we go through the rest of the season, of course, that pace will presumably carry them through the rest of the races with an advantage.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult to understand exactly why Williams have dropped away from the form of the last couple of years. I think they've definitely taken advantage of making the choice to go with Mercedes power. That's given them no issues in terms of the amount of runs available and the straight line speeds. They do tend to have a strategy of running their car aimed at top speed, so that means not a lot of drag, but unfortunately not a lot of drag means not a lot of downforce in many cases. And you wonder, as we go into a big regulation change for next year, whether they need to slightly change the philosophy, especially if they're being beaten by a well-functioned team in Force India, but smaller in terms of the budget.
You can vote for your driver of the day at f1.com/vote. And Lewis Hamilton's just set the fastest lap in this race. He's on a relatively fresh set of tyres up against those around him, of course, and he's taking full advantage of that. A 1:51.6, so bringing that target down a little bit, some way away from the actual lap record here at Spa. But Hamilton, having started at the back and on for a podium finish, well, it's still going to be a massive result for him.
Yeah, I was just trying to think, who I would put as the driver of the day, and it's quite difficult to judge. Hamilton has benefited from those safety cars. There's been a lot of good driving out there. There's also been some little wheel contacts and what have you, but I guess happiest of the day is going to be Hamilton or Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg, in terms of positions that he's been able to maintain. He's been on form all weekend, actually, Hulkenberg. It comes and goes, doesn't it, between him and Perez, but certainly he's looked the stronger of the two this weekend.
Just wanted to get a word from Mark Webber as we go into the closing stages. Mark, particularly about Alonso's performance. We saw your interview with him. I know you're pretty close to Fernando, and at the moment he's fending off these Williams and Raikkonen. It's a typical Alonso gritty performance.
Absolutely. He loves this stuff, and he absolutely loves it. And, he's got 3.5 laps to run here, and he's got the way they're generating the lap times here very, very different. Williams' big top speed, and, Fernando's looks like nice traction and closing the lap very, very good. So they can't latch on to the DRS really at the moment. As soon as they've done that, they might put a bit more heat on him. But they're going to need to have their weapon sharp if they can get on the back end, because the Fons is not going to give this up too easy. 7th place is a cracking drive for him.
So which part of the circuit is he really kind of making the most of, if you like, to hold this position?
Yeah, well, here, I like him. He's finishing the second sector quite strong. He said the Williams, close up down into bus stop here, but Fernando's so tidy out of bus stop on traction, out of La Source, which is a huge run then up the hill, up through Rouge and Radion. So Massa will be very, very frustrated. Both Williams will be frustrated. They can't quite latch onto the back of him. So, and Fernando, he's not going to be, as we see Lewis here, pinching in front right into the bus stop, trying to squeeze a bit more lap time out of his car to get a little bit of heat on Daniel. Maybe he won't have he'll run out of laps to get Daniel Ricciardo. But yeah, Fernando strong in the key parts of the lap, and that's what he needs to do for a few more laps.
And it's been a bit of a mixed race for Ferrari, hasn't it? Vettel's moved up to, 6th place now, but certainly hasn't been the result they've been looking for.
First corner, all went pear-shaped, didn't it? Both of them together, and they'll be licking their wounds tonight, saying how the hell did it all go wrong again with two guys not getting the maximum out of their car, because I think they actually look pretty tidy on pace, but Bottas down the inside. Yep, Bottas down the inside of Felipe for Lecom, so that could be interesting. If now Valtteri has been released, and he could well give a bit of headaches for Fernando now closing this Grand Prix up.
Absolutely, and it looks like Felipe Massa has got a bit of trouble with his rear tyres, because he had a real flick of oversteer there, David.
Yeah, he did. Raikkonen will be hot to seize the opportunity. They're fairly neutralised in straight line speed, so there won't be much in this middle sector either that Raikkonen can do. So you'll see if he can get a run on them down into the chicane. Raikkonen hasn't looked particularly strong on the brakes, but he'll know now that Massa, if he's struggling with the rear, will just have to be a little bit more cautious when he hits the brakes. Just while we watch this battle, just a thought when Mark mentioned that things have gone pear-shaped at the first corner. We'll see for Bottas.
We can get him. He's going to be a sitting duck, so let's hunt Alonso down.
Yeah, well, that's what they reckon. They can still do it.
Well, we didn't see the beginning of the pass on Massa, so was that a call from the team to release Bottas and see if he could Massa hadn't been able to attack Alonso at all, so that could well be a strategic call.
Yeah, may well be, and might well make some good sense, because it does look as though Massa's struggling just a bit. Now he's going to have to protect his position from Kimi Raikkonen, and Raikkonen looks a little bit closer. Definitely looks like Massa's struggling a bit more for grip than Bottas, who has a very good ability to look after his tyres. The team's always regarded that very highly. Massa perhaps a little bit more aggressive on these Pirelli tyres, and it is going to give Raikkonen a chance here now. You're riding on board the Ferrari, so how close can he get up the hill here? such a crucial part of the lap, and this is where the DRS will assist him. He's surely in good shape to make the move this time. Massa goes to the inside, Kimi Räikkönen to the outside. He's got to complete the manoeuvre and get turned in, and he does so. No lock-up from him. We did see the mistake earlier on from Vettel, and I'm afraid another glum face from Felipe's father and from Sir Frank Williams, not looking too happy about that. But Kimi Räikkönen's been patient after that first corner fracas. He certainly got his head down and worked hard and been able to get back into the points, and at least Ferrari are going to get a double points finish out of this after all, but not the sort of finish they would be looking for, and it has been a disappointing mid-season for them. Monza, of course, their home race is coming up in just a week's time, and you wonder, are the Tifosi going to turn out in the numbers that the Dutch and Belgian fans have turned out this weekend? The Tifosi don't really get it when Ferrari aren't winning, do they?
No, they certainly don't like it. They're very passionate. And Ferrari are, without question, the most famous name in Formula One, having been part of the World Championship since its formation.
Well, there we are. Räikkönen will now chase down Bottas, but Bottas seems to have a little bit more in hand. Tyre life very, very similar, and we are closing down this Belgian Grand Prix now. Nico Rosberg, with a 12-second advantage, is looking comfortable to take victory here. He's still got a lap and a half to go, but Nico Rosberg is likely to add this racetrack to his CV. Such a key race circuit for all racing drivers. It means a lot to win here. It's one that he hasn't been able to master for a variety of reasons in the past. It's been an eventful track for him as well. We can't forget what happened to him and Hamilton in 2014 when he went for an optimistic move on Hamilton. They made contact and threw away a potential victory on that occasion. But Rosberg has certainly kept his cool up front. He had to earlier when we had safety car and then a red flag, and he saw his lead eroded, but he's built it back up again, and he's leading by 12 seconds over Daniel Ricciardo. Red Bull are on for some very useful points, though. Remember that Red Bull are second in the Constructors' Championship, and they will continue to be there despite the fact that Verstappen won't get any points, I think, because Verstappen's some 5 seconds behind Massa. He is lapping quite a lot faster than Massa, but I think it might be asking too much for Max Verstappen to get into the points here. But the points for Daniel Ricciardo in second place will be more than enough to fend off the Ferraris, even if they do have 2 point-scoring drivers here. And we are on to the final lap. Rosberg has crossed the line now, so he's just got a little under 7 kilometers to go to record a victory at Spa. Alonso's doing everything he needs to do to hang on to 7th, which is a very good result indeed for McLaren Honda, bearing in mind what a tough season it's been, and also bearing in mind that, like Hamilton, he started right at the back of the field. Remarkable, really, but great tyre choice from both teams. They put them both on the medium compound tyre, and when we had incidents in the early part of the race, that certainly was the right decision to have started on that tyre. Worked beautifully. They could then change their tyres under the red flag, and that enabled them to be in such a competitive position here. And there is Alonso then, going on to his last lap in 7th place, still chased by Bottas and Räikkönen, but it looks as though he's done enough. Last lap, let's hope he hasn't had to save fuel, otherwise he might be under threat. But there's our race leader. It is Nico Rosberg doing everything right. He had that brilliant sequence at the beginning of the season, but it's actually been a little while since he's won a Grand Prix. Baku was his last win, but we've had 4 Grand Prix since then, unable to take a victory in any of those. But today, everything has gone his way. He had to take advantage, knowing that Lewis Hamilton had engine penalties that would put him on the back of the grid. He knew, though, that Mercedes were not as strong here as they have been at some of the other events. So at a certain extent, he did have to fight for it. But he's done everything right, and the German driver comes through the last couple of corners. Nico Rosberg wins the Belgian Grand Prix. He takes his 20th career victory to match Mika Häkkinen and Kimi Räikkönen. It's his first ever win at Spa, and second place is going to go to Daniel Ricciardo. Great effort from the Australian once again. He punches the air. Another podium finish for Daniel Ricciardo. He's celebrating that one. And third, from the very back of the field, Lewis Hamilton. Well, that has got to be a special podium, to have worked his way through the order and to have limited the damage effectively in terms of the World Championship. He still leads the World Championship, despite having had to start from the back. And Hulkenberg takes fourth, matching his best ever finish. Perez in fifth, a stunning result for Force India. Vettel comes home in sixth place. Alonso is going to finish in seventh, I believe. We'll just wait for confirmation of that.
Excellent job, really good drive. That was a super stint on the medium, Nico. Top job on that first set of medium, just pulled away from everybody.
Fantastic drive, Nico, well done.
Thank you, Paddy. Awesome results, awesome.
Alonso has finished in seventh place. Bottas takes eighth, Raikkonen finished ninth, and the final point went to Felipe Massa, with Verstappen out of the points by 5.2 seconds. The other finishers were Gutierrez, Grosjean, Kvyat, Palmer. Ocon, on his debut, managed to fend off Nasser to the end. Well done to him. And just 17 cars out of the 22 finished. But Nico Rosberg has done it. Mercedes have taken their third ever win at Spa, but it's his first for the Rosberg family too. Keke Rosberg never able to take the victory at this circuit, and it's a very, very important day for him as he closes that gap in the World Championship. Can this be the shift of momentum that he needs? We'll have to wait and see. But for now, he's done exactly what he wanted. He's taken his sixth win of 2016. And he and Hamilton are now even on 6 wins apiece.
Schöne Handschuhe. Okay, mach ich dann drauf, okay.
There's many Dutch flags, but there's a few Australian ones. Cheers. Cruising.
Nico Rosberg has taken victory in Belgium. Lewis Hamilton has recovered to third place from the back of the grid, and Daniel Ricciardo taking a well-earned drink after earning second place. Force India have moved ahead of Williams in the Constructors' Championship. The gap between Hamilton and Rosberg has come down to 9 points. Just 9 points separating the two Mercedes drivers now, with 8 races still to go. So Max Verstappen didn't make it to the podium. We gather that the damage on his car from the first corner incident was costing him about 1.5 seconds a lap, so it really had a huge impact on his race. Despite changing the front wing, there was the other damage that had been done, and sadly it wasn't to be for Max Verstappen on this occasion, but he has electrified Formula One this year, and I'm sure there'll be more occasions for him to do it. At Mercedes, there are some big smiles, because I think what more could they have asked than to get a win and a podium, bearing in mind that their drivers started at the front and the back of the grid. It's still a remarkable achievement by Lewis Hamilton. And yes, you could say that fate certainly helped today because of the way it worked, but nonetheless, very, very impressive. And Hamilton comes out to celebrate a podium finish here, add to his remarkable tally of success this year. His 97th career podium finish, that is. Daniel Ricciardo finishing in 2nd place. Well, he's not earned quite as many podiums as Hamilton, but he is one of the most popular drivers in Formula One. And Nico Rosberg finally wins in Belgium, getting us an interesting reaction, but he's got the points. What a return after the summer break for Nico Rosberg to be able to take victory, his first in 5 Grand Prix. And that matters hugely to him if he's to keep this championship challenge alive. Well, first time he's won here at Spa. He needs to do the same next week from his own point of view. He's never won at Monza, whereas it is one of Lewis Hamilton's favourites. Huell Thomas to pick up the trophy on behalf of Mercedes on this occasion. And once again, this team impresses, doesn't it? Even when they start at the back, the ability to come through, and it was partly tactics as well today. 2nd place then to Daniel Ricciardo. The smile lights up the whole of Spa-Francorchamps. And he's on a great sequence of performances at the moment. The Spa track, definitely one of his favourites. And 3rd place to Lewis Hamilton. Stayed out of trouble in those early laps. It would have been so easy to have got caught up in all the dramas that were going on that first lap, but he stayed safe, kept the car in one piece, and fought his way back to finish 3rd. Celebration time for Nico Rosberg. Is this the kickstart that he needed in the championship? He has brought the gap down to 9 points. A long way to go, and a series of races in the latter part of the year that, of course, he dominated last year after Lewis Hamilton had wrapped up the championship. But there is a long way to go, and Hamilton's performance today showed that he is just as intent as ever on maximising every opportunity he gets. To spare a thought for Nico Hülkenberg, who once again missed out on a podium, but did finish in 4th place, with Perez in 5th position, of course, for Force India. Brilliant day for Force India. Now, the man who's going to do the interviews, as the man has been giving us such great analysis this weekend, Mark Webber, is going to be asking the questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, what
a weekend here in Belgium, a sellout crowd, absolutely packed. Maybe not the driver up here that you might not have wanted, but what a weekend. Nico, well done. Crazy start to the race, red flag, big shunt with Kevin Magnussen. Run us through it.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, it's been a great weekend. Very, very happy with that result, of course. I understand that some of you will be disappointed because I understand you wanted Verstappen to be up here another year. You know, he's very young. He has many years to go. And you've been amazing this weekend. So many of you who come. It's been very impressive to see. Great atmosphere. And thank you to my team, of course. Great car they've given me and a very special day. Oh, and of course, congrats to Lewis. From last place to third must have been pretty impressive.
Thanks, Nico. Here we go. Oh, yeah. He wants me. I'm not drinking out of that, mate. He wants
Come on, everyone.
Yeah.
You're a legend.
Up here again, Spa. Great podium. You couldn't expect it much more. How is it saving those tyres, going long and splitting the two Mercedes?
Firstly, thanks for doing that. I think we just made our country even more proud. But,
oh yeah.
It was cool. You know, obviously it was pretty messed up at the start. There was a lot of virtual safety cars and then the red flag. But we knew we had a bit of damage actually from the first corner. But we fixed the front wing and then got back out. And I mean, it was a bit of a race by myself, but obviously I enjoyed the pace, and obviously to keep Lewis behind was a good achievement today.
Well done, buddy.
Cheers,
fantastic.
mate. Thank you.
Lewis, wow. So, Lewis, that was a record comeback to a podium here in Spa. So, 21st on the grid, up to third place. I imagine you couldn't really believe you could hit the steps today.
Firstly, I've got to say a big thank you to this crowd. Is incredible today. I know a lot of these people came out from Max, which is amazing, and that's great for the sport, but I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for supporting me today. I mean, the team did an amazing job this weekend. I changed 3 engines, so I'm actually ahead of these guys now on engines, which is a good thing, thanks to the team, and just a remarkable day. What a beautiful weather, great crowd, and great race.
It was that. Sensational. Well done, Lewis. Nico, your 20th victory. First time winning here in Spa. Momentum now for Monza. How do you feel the car will perform there? And, you know, nibbling away a couple of points off Lewis this weekend. So back into the season, mate. How are you looking forward to that?
No, it's been great, of course, to get the win today on this special track. You know, it's a legendary track. But Lewis, starting from the back, of course, made it a lot easier this weekend. And I'm sure he's going to be back in Monza, and it's going to be a big battle as always.
Well done, Nico. So, everybody, thank you very much. What a weekend. I know that next year you will maybe look for someone else up here, but unbelievable atmosphere, and we'll see everyone in Monza next weekend. All the best. Cheers.
Nico Rosberg has responded to his poor sequence of races before the summer break by winning the first of the final group. But next time he's likely to be head-to-head with Hamilton at Monza, and that is a track that the Englishman loves.